We will be keeping tabs on that match as well, as we're also covering yet another match. Let's talk about it, because this one's getting me really excited as well. We get to see that cross-region play, we get to see a look at Team Falcons, and also at ENCE to see how they're stacking up against one another. Now, if looking at ENCE here first, that team, they've been very consistently performing in Stage 1 as well. In Stage 2, they're finding themselves in that top 3 spot in the Faceit League as well. How will they stack up against Team Falcons, though? Do they have a chance?
I mean, these are incredibly storied players, some of the highest performers we've seen in all of Overwatch history coming out of the European region, and they're all together on one squad. But they haven't found that victory that I think they've been chasing. And to be going up against here in the first round against Falcons Esports, like I said, one of the most stacked Overwatch teams we have ever seen. This is a scary matchup in round 1, even for experienced players.
Yeah, and one thing to mention here as well, Chase is not with them here at DreamHack. Crimson now officially their head coach. So I'm very interested to see what they're bringing to the stage. Actually, we had a chance to catch up with them, so let's see what they had to say.
1, 2, 3. Well, I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matt Morella. We've managed to wrangle a number 2 seed from the EMEA region. It is ENCE, and we're here to find out if it is indeed too easy for ENCE.
I'm sure you guys have watched, NA and APAC. How have they played? Are there any teams that you're kind of excited to see here?
Students of the game. I want to see if they can actually win a map.
Who's the worst traveler out of you? Who would definitely get lost if they had to do it on their own?
Kev.
What do you mean? That was a quick answer.
That was fast.
That was a quick answer.
How does that make you feel?
Defense. This is bullshit.
What's your journey been like, obviously having been a player for many years, into a coaching role?
I was always kind of like very active in terms of like strategy and stuff like that. So it's something that I've always been interested in. And honestly, like moving into like the coaching role now, it feels very natural to me. Like kind of like gather the troops and like create ideas, like create things out of thin air, like start to cook and stuff like that.
How's he been as a coach?
Really? Really?
Would you guys say that you're like a more like a low energy team? I want you all to point to who you think is the best player on the team. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I like this.
These two.
We're kind of split, yeah, I like that. I think Falcons said that they felt that you guys were one of the weakest opponents to take on at this event.
I think it's funny for them to say that when, despite all the resources they have, they almost didn't make it here. So it's pretty funny. I mean, I see them as a pretty weak as well.
Here's what we're doing. We're lassoing. We're gonna get one of these chairs and you guys get a couple tries, this one here, to get the freaking lasso onto one of the poles, right? Yeah.
Lasso.
Lasso! Is that what you say?
You said lasso.
Oh, is it lasso?
Oh my goodness. Look at this one.
Wait, how are you supposed to lasso if you let go of the whole thing?
Yeah, you go. Look at that slack.
Oh.
That's easy. Maybe we should make it longer for everyone else.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I'm sure you guys all look like you've had the time of your lives. It's been great doing this with you. See you guys out there.
Yeah, sparkling personality is really coming through here for that score.
That hurt me. That hurt me.
Honestly, though, that lasso is not very conducive to lassoing. It was very.
It was a
stiff.
struggle. I'm not gonna lie.
That was a rough time.
Oh, it was
But
right. It was right.
Mitch managed, so there's hope. There's hope. Is there hope for this team, though? Let's talk about it. Obviously, the talk here. They don't consider Falcons that strong, according to Crimzo. Is he just yapping,
That's
or is he
copium.
actually
This is
that
serious
confident?
copium. I mean, Falcons might be, you can't be scared of your opponent. You got to come in confident. And so I admire that they're not scared. These guys are really strong players individually. They can definitely bring it. However, I mean, Team Falcons is one of the strongest rosters we've ever seen. And I think it's important to recognize that like these teams, like Falcons, Crazy Raccoon, you could put these guys up against Overwatch League champion rosters of previous years. These guys clear. Look at this, you got Proper and Stalker. I mean, Proper's the most exciting DPS player, rookie that we've seen come in years, continuing to grow as a player. Stalker, I think, one of the best tracers in the world. Smurf and Hanbin are your tanks. I mean, that's disgusting. either one of these guys could be one of the best tanks in the whole world. Solo.
I'm terrified of that backline. Fielder Chia,
I mean, everybody knows
everybody's
Fielder Chia.
scary.
That's one of the most stable backlines you can have out there. One of the most consistent performers in the world. They know every comp in the game. I mean, this team, there's no limits on them, right? Like, yeah, you can't know what they're going to bring. You can't know what they're going to play. The only thing you can expect is to be surprised and outplayed.
But hey, Copium, they weren't the best team in Asia. That was Crazy Raccoons. And also Kevster. Kevster's pretty good at the game, Jake. So, I mean, maybe if Kevster peaks at the right time here in Dallas, individually, he could maybe match some of the players here on Team Falcons, and that could give you a leg up, right? We don't expect ENCE to come in as this team that is really versatile and play a lot of dive. That's not what Vestola does. Vestola, he slows things down, he plays the brawl compositions. Maybe we'll see some Sigma being played. There's some good Sigma maps in the pool, right? That is the key for success for this ENCE Esports teams. You can't just play Falcons' game. You have to play your own game and force Falcons to be uncomfortable.
And I mean, keep in mind, guys, that here, if you're losing this first map, you actually get to pick the next map. Not just the map, but also the game mode. That surely can come in clutch.
Yeah, so the format here, we're bringing this in from, we've only seen this in the Asia region, but I'm a huge fan of this format. I think it's very, very good for the scene because you lose that first map on control, you can take it anywhere else in the map pool. You can go to any of the next 4 modes, any map you want to bring out. And so there's a huge chance, even if you take a loss in map 1, you get the win in your sails. Whatever strategy you're most confident in, you're most prepared for, you bring that out next. So there's a really good chance we'll see more and more games going deeper, going to game 5. And yeah, you might end up on some of the same maps, but I can tell you from a player perspective, it's a huge difference to get a win under your belt early in the series, tie things up 1-1. That's a game changer. That can really put wind in your sails. And even if you go back to your opponent's map pick, you know that, you can beat them.
Reinforce agrees. I saw him in the face. Well, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see where they take us here after the control map. Also, who's going to come out on top. It's enough from us here at the desk. It is time to meet our team. So, Danny, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Zoe. DreamHack Dallas, give it up for your first team. It's Team Falcons!
Signed to conquer in 2024. Chiu and Fielder, one of the most legendary support lines in the game, and they'll lean on them for a good foundation to set up Proper and Stalker to succeed. Proper, the 2022 Overwatch League MVP alongside Stalker, a 2023 damage role star, spearheading the front line is Smurf and Hanbin, the most versatile tank duo the game has ever seen. This Falcons team won't settle for anything other than first here in Dallas, and it's Stars versus ENCE.
And their opponents. Everybody make some noise for Team
The best European roster we've seen assembled in pure name value. They may not have seen quite the success they've hoped for quite yet, but they're gunning for that first place spot. They're gunning for that first championship for European Overwatch here in the Overwatch Champions Series. You got Kai and Kevster. I can't really think of a stronger European DPS line. Vestola coming off an incredible performance in the World Cup. And then the back line with stable main support in Masa and an incredibly high potential flex support in Ghost that we haven't quite seen much of yet, but he's a guy I've been really excited for. Everything I've seen from him has been very impressive, especially that Baptiste.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a minute. I'm going to say a huge acknowledgement to those diehards who sat in the crowd all through this. We see you out there. It's great to be back here, of course, at DreamHack Dallas. And we are moments away from jumping into our first match of our first OWCS Major, Matt. Let's have a look at the bracket. Let's reestablish where we're at in the tournament.
Let's remind everybody where we're at. This is the start of the event. There's going to be another match that's going to go on in the Overwatch Esports 2 channel, so you can go into the section, check that out. The game that we will have here on the main stage will be that game at the top. It'll be Falcons versus ENCE, number 2 in Asia versus number 2 in Europe. Should be a pretty awesome game.
We talked about it a bunch at the top of the show, but I feel like we dug pretty deep into what to expect from ENCE, but their opponents today are absolutely terrifying. We have absolute legends of the Overwatch world over many, many years, and somehow this Falcons roster, not even the best in their damn region.
It's also a really, obviously, odd scenario, right? These players are, they do the walkout, they get all excited, geared up to play, and then they don't. So it's kind of like, who can get that energy back?
You try to tell me scissors, paper, rock isn't a sufficient warm-up?
Get back. Hey, I would have kept going with rock.
Yeah, Hardy, absolutely.
He should have committed to the bit.
You fumbled, my guy. That's all I'm saying.
as Danny is the hardest working person in jorts in the venue.
Yeah, how many people in jorts in the venue? Show of hands.
No, but we got Jordan.
All right.
Yeah.
Love to see that. We are moments away, folks, from jumping into Eco Point Antarctica. That's right. Finally, OWCS Major 1 kicks off. It's Falcons up against ENCE.
Yeah, so we also talked about some of the compositions we might see here throughout the weekend, much earlier in the day, where ENCE, right, they're going to try and play mostly Baptiste Lucio setups, right, around Vestola's Sigma.
Make sure they get value out of Masa. Make sure, Vestola's on a static tank.
For Falcons, loads of different options. The Hanzo is something we've heard a lot of teams investing around with, potentially, so it will be the Hanzo here at the start.
The loss of that true one-shot potential with the changes to health pools and projectile sizes doesn't seem to have, broken Hanzo's capability here. Proper on the Genji as well, always a terrifying prospect. And we will see ENCE look to try and set up around that Sigma to start with. Malga is back, just fearsome as ever.
Yeah, it's, you see Stalker here trying to work down that Sigma shield as ENCE wants to kind of control this high ground. They want to kind of almost like bait Falcons into coming up on there. They feel like they win the fight in the long run.
They're going! What a Bionade catching from Field of Ghost! Couldn't do a darn thing about it already. Your Baptista's gone. Immortality killed? Never heard of it. And ENCE off to a rocky start.
Yes, they get kind of pushed off there through that high ground rather quickly there by Falcons as Proper on the Genji just gets into the back line. Now, we talked a little bit earlier today about how devastating that Kevster and Kai, the DPS duo, is there for ENCE, where Proper and Stalker, I mean, that is a sick combo on the other side.
Yeah, Vistola got himself some glasses. Fair enough. Obviously, that's Smurf's camera. Vistola's POV. Trying to take a little bit of space with a kinetic grasp here. Cardiac overdrive to lead ENCE astray. It's going to be Ghost getting tipped off yet again. The peak potential here from Falcons has been excellent.
And this is brutal because without the Baptiste, you can't kind of hold any position if you are ENCE, right? You need the immortality field, the just AoE healing capabilities. Lucio obviously not good enough to survive through any of that.
So what's the play into the Malga bit?
I mean, it's quite difficult, right? You want to like slowly kind of like push up, take this high ground, right? Rotate these cooldowns that Stola has, whether it be the kinetic grasp or the shield, try and occupy that space.
Nano boost up here for Field of Smurf, going straight on in. He dispenses a Nano. Vistola gets caught. Pulse bomb was good though. Kevster comes alive finally, and these DPS ultimates are gaining some traction here for ENCE finally. Vasa no beat quite yet, but ENCE do need to get themselves touching the point. Stalker could be an issue. Bit of a threat. Dragon Strike available, but Falcons will give it up. It's a healthy enough lead.
Yeah, now I'm quite interested in where ENCE kind of sets up from, right? You have this Cassidy, kind of, put that Cassidy up on that high ground. Stalker is so dangerous, though, like you mentioned. Even just the kill potential, but also being able to burn down this shield, and then it's the go time for the Mog.
Sound barriers on both sides here. Expect this fight to be a little more drawn out. The Dragon Blade proper will not be relevant until Masa has parted with that ability. Hang on, they managed to pressure Vistola down. This is going to force out an early sound barrier from ENCE. Dangerous now for them. Falcons hold on to it for a time. What? Where's the sound barrier? Geo!
Yeah, sound barrier, they use it a little bit earlier there in the fight. And I think they're just trying to like bully out Vestola to get that sound barrier out of Masa.
I thought they had the pick at least.
Yeah, and then they were going to back out a little bit. Like you saw Proper go down the below ground and then try and maybe use that blade. And for the first time, we're going to see Venture for this.
Yeah, of course, they really effective at playing a lot of these off angles. We've seen a lot of teams combine them with the Malga. See how it plays out once again. Vistola this time needs to avoid getting cut off the rest of the team, singled out. Cage fight available here for Smurf though, that's dangerous. Stalker's heading on in, Proper as well, doesn't even need the Dragon Blade to do some serious work here. Druidic Flux, he's not caught in it, he dodged it, and Proper's back. It's like he never left. And I don't know how you bounce back from that. ENCE get themselves at least in the lead. That's a dominant showing from Falcons there.
Yeah, as you try and use that flux and catch Proper in it as he's going into the back line with that Nano and not able to do so. It's been a lost fight anyway. You'd already lost 2 players before that. And like you mentioned, Venture, they're so strong in combination with the Mog that Cardiac Overdrive plus the shield that you build up while, connecting those abilities in combination with each other. Very difficult to take out.
And Drill Rush gives them a really reliable escape a lot of the time here. Here it is, the case comes down. Smurf starting to blow them up. Kai found a Deadeye inside of it. Stalker though pops up, takes Kai down. Ghost also removed by the melee. That's 2 for the Venture. And Master is too far away to get involved. An attempt at a back cap here for ENCE, but that's going to be stifled now as Kevster will be forced back, and we're in overtime. The Tracer has the recall to try and keep the round going, but Proper wants to keep him at arm's length. The sleep is good. A stand man cometh, and Falcons should be locking this one down.
Pretty close. Round number 1 there.
Not bad.
Between Falcons and ENCE. It kind of comes right down to the wire. We'll see now as we move into round number 2. Any kind of changes on both sides. I think ENCE, right? You want to continue to play. I mean, Vestola on Sigma, Moss on the Lucio, and then Ghost on the Baptiste. He's probably the strongest of combination that those 3 players can play in terms of like heroes. Falcons with an adjustment though, right? Bringing the Venture into the mix is a really nice touch.
We mentioned how they're very, very good to combine with that engage on Malga. God forbid there's a cage match. That's when it gets even nastier. ENCE here don't want to play into that real hard flanker. They want to play pretty static around the Baptiste, around the Sigma. They are a death ball here, and Falcons need to unravel them. Already our Asian number 2 sets up on the point here. Accretion gonna miss, and now it's an opportunity for Falcons to go forward. Immortality Field also take him down. Yes, a power play moment for Falcons, and Proper delivers.
This is just a clean sweep here from Falcons. They bring the Mei into the mix here for ENCE, right? They try and use a Mei wall there at the start, and he split the player off, but by time Proper, just a dash on in. He already takes out 1 player instantly. The Venture of Stalker there right after, so a really fast team fight there from Falcons.
ENCE here have to play up once more behind this Sigma shield. It makes them a little telegraph. As by design, they want to play pretty close together. Maybe an off-angle taken up by Kai. Kempster actually makes the switch over to the Tracer. Does give them some flank pressure to speak of. This is dangerous though. Look at them ignore Vestola, who needs to double back now. Immortality Field down, Kinetic Grasp to eat up some of that damage. And yes, it holds Smurf and Baby Proper has already gotten as the cat amongst the pigeons. That's another 3K for the Genji.
Like the Immortality Field comes out from Ghost, you already have like a player dead, and then there's another one that just drops right after. But you use it so early, then Falcons doesn't even really need to kind of commit to fight that as Proper pushes a little bit too deep there, gets taken out by Kai.
Maybe just a little bit more than he could chew, but it is a 50% total here for Falcons. Sound barrier up early for Chio. Might be an option here, especially to play off that Bionic Grenade. It's going to be an Immortality Field that has to be deployed just because of the Bionade. That's cheaply lost there for ENCE. Proper here coming from the backside. Sees Ken still over, realizes putting pressure on Vestola. Is paramount presently. Wait out the sound barrier. The Dragon Blade could be quite devastating, but they lose Fielder and the Stalker. I think Proper may not have much to do here. Little stall for Smurf. He'll succumb.
Yeah, that 3-player Bio Grenade from Fielder, they pushed in right after that. Immortality Field, Sound Barrier, Ant Matrix used there by ENCE just to be able to live and flip the point back. Is now Falcons, you come back, you have this blade, there's no Sound Barrier on the other side. You're probably still another fight after that from taking that FNAF, but still in a good spot to potentially make a play here.
Hold up here for Stalker.
Vestola could land that big flux stuff, right? We saw him trying to kind of catch Proper in it before. He now gets woken up, that cage fight.
Some pressure coming down, shield up and into the back line goes Proper once more, the Dragon Blade. Yeah, finds 2, and the Immortality Field crucially removed first. And even in the face of Kai being able to find that Deadeye, there was no chance for Vestola to part with the Gravik Flux.
Yeah, and something that we talked about with ENCE when we did the interviews with them was that they wanted to kind of try and play the game at their pace. They felt that if they can get the game going in their pace, they would definitely swing in their favor, where here at the start, especially on control, right, it's really difficult for them to kind of control that high ground, control that space that they would like to, as the pace has been completely set by Falcons.
Is this enough? Fielder goes down with the Gravik Flux and follow-up there for Vestola, but the rest of the Falcons are standing still. Chio desperately trying to keep them topped up, and somehow Vestola gets brought down. Too focused on Stalker. Smurf finishing off the kill now. Kempster trying to control the point. Pulse Bomb delivered, but Falcons having to shrug it off pretty comfortably. Another cardiac overdrive for Falcons. And here's that overtime. Kempster's down. That was the only option they had to keep things going. And Titan Peninsula goes to Falcons.
And that is a pretty clean sweep there from Falcons, right? They come in using that Maga composition, made it very difficult for ENCE to hold any of that position that they would have liked to. They're playing a little bit more of a static play style. with that Sigma. We'll see how they adjust here in the next map, which they'll be able to pick the map and game type, right? So a lot of different options for ENCE here. You can definitely pick a map that is more suited to that playstyle.
I want to quote Crimzo here.
Yeah.
He said, if Falcons turn up and play the way they scrim, they won't be winning much of anything.
Well, I mean, look, some of the APAC teams here in the past, they've been known to potentially sandbag some scrims every once in a while. It's been a thing. So whenever we talk about the Scrimbuck stock exchange, it's always a little bit sideways in that regard.
It's tenuous. We don't put too much faith in it. Just very interesting. There were definitely some fighting words shared by this ENCE squad coming into this matchup. Now, bear in mind, the first map of the series is predetermined. So that wasn't selected by anyone in particular. Let's have a look back over some of these moments in the round. Promise Dragon Blade, still as sharp as ever. Smurf obviously looking pretty deadly, and Stalker was a later switch over to Venture. It still brought a lot of value.
Between like Fielder like the bio grenades, felt like it was connecting with a player, or two every single time. They kind of go and attack on that. It forces out like all the cooldowns, right? It's like kinetic grass, the shield refresh, immortality field, and there's just not enough to live through that burst damage once those cooldowns are done.
See, obviously, Cage Match very potent there at making sure a lot of those abilities that really want the enemy team to be clumped up get the most value from Falcons. But let's be honest, by design, that ENCE composition wants to play in a death ball, but it relies so heavily on their Baptiste utility. That immortality field, of course, you're expecting a lot from your youngest player, your newest player here, the rookie Ghost coming in. He has to be the glue that holds this comp together, and up against this kind of pressure, it's a big ask.
So I think some of the positives, though, would be for ENCE is that like there's a lot of different maps throughout the pool that you can use to
modes
to make those kind of compositions work. And then your damage dealers are extremely flexible in terms of what they can play with Kai and Kevster. So you do have some options here. I think, though, Falcons are so strong there early on.
ENCE kind of admits they're not super flexible. So there are definitely maps they know if they get taken to, I'll rattle them off. Route 66, like Gibraltar, for example. A lot of those maps, they will admit that if they get taken to those maps, it's going to be a tougher time. But being able to make that selection, they might pick something that caters a little bit more to the Ramatra, to the Sigma looks. And there's a ton of options here. Remember, you can choose map and mode. That's the biggest change that we've seen since OWL, for example, when the mode was locked in, but the map was up for grabs.
You could think of something like a Midtown, right? We've seen like loads of Sigma played on that map in the past, right? Circuit, obviously a tremendous Sigma map. I also think if you wanted to, maybe like a Rialto. I think
even Colosseo, if you want to play like a brawl style, is pretty effective there.
I think the map type, right? I think it is quite interesting, right? Like you want to give yourself like a little bit of more of a long, because like the push maps, it's so dangerous in terms of like if you lose first fight, a lot of the time you end up kind of giving up a ton of progress, and that kind of ends up really kind of resulting in a map win or loss. So you're putting a lot of stock in first fight there, especially on a map like Colosseo.
Recently, ENCE were taken to Route 66 actually by SSG, and they had to play against a dive comp, and they stuck on the Ramatra sort of sig looks, and it was very close. It was actually a really close map, which is obviously one where you were not favored playing that style. So the reality is even if ENCE do win a map, and then Falcons can make that choice, there is room for them to adapt here. They have obviously some great looks within the shell of those more ground-born, those more static setups here. Kevster, I think a lot rides on him to be that player that brings the flexibility to allow this team to, again, adapt to a lot of those different maps.
And I think it'll also determine by just kind of like the belief of the team how you kind of pick this. It's like, do you pick a map that Falcons is historically, bad at, right? And maybe you feel like, okay, even if it's not our optimal play style and not the kind of the composition or style of play we want to play, maybe we feel like we can still win it because Falcons is so poor on it. Or is it like, okay, we want to play a map that we are awesome on? So Circuit,
Okay.
So
Great example.
This is a perfect example of Sigma space creation, right? You can definitely play Baptiste, Lucio here with the Sigma. You can switch to Ramatra if need be. So pretty good map selection. It was one of the ones that we mentioned, like, hey, this would probably be one of the go-tos here.
This is the kind of map that also allows Kai to lean a little bit more into that hit scan prowess. When you saw the Cassidy from him there on Antarctic Peninsula, a hero that doesn't really like having the fight taken to him too much.
They have Proper on the other team. Talk about like, yeah, it's great that he can play hit scan, but it's not like they got like a
Proper and Stalker, obviously, a huge amount of flexibility. And it does look like we might even be looking at a substitution here. Now, when we see a sub at Falcons support, that usually is a huge telegraph about the kind of comp they want to play, because Majid is the Iari specialist on this roster.
Yeah, and it looks like potentially you have him coming in here for this second map. So that would be, an Iari composition for them. So look, we've seen teams run it on Midtown, right? Midtown, we've seen Illauri run, I know, throughout NA and EU to pretty mixed results, I would say. So we'll see what Falcons decides to do, but that would be a clear tell to me that they're going to be running that.
We don't have to think back far, at least to a metagame where Iari was very powerful, if you recall how the World Cup went down towards the end of last year, right? That was where Team Saudi Arabia really, I would say, abused. They leveraged is putting it too nicely. They played at Sigma, they played at Iari very, very well, and ended up actually shocking all of us by taking that win over Team China, who were very much, with Gushui in the lineup, very much locked in to try and play those dive compositions.
And Surmajet was sick on that hero at World Cup, right? I know you kind of think of his hero pool as a flex support, with obviously, can play the Baptiste at an extremely high level. The Illauri probably, the strongest hero that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, Majid was known definitely as like an honor player as well before Iari was
very aggressive.
And I want to point out, and we kind of touched on it here, this ENCE lineup definitely seems set up to try and keep Ghost on the Baptiste, keep Massa, of course, on the Lucio. Some substitutions though coming in here, of course, and it's not just Majid that's actually switching into the lineup as far as we know here. So we do have obviously a little bit of moment for setup. But this Falcons team has a pretty terrifying bench to work with, Matt.
I mean, the roster is just so strong all throughout. So looks like you're going to see a change in terms of tank. It looks like potentially Hanbin coming in here. And Surmajet.
You have Smurf and Hanbin on this team. So talk about flexibility. I think that Falcons can absolutely get there. Surmajet, of course, coming in here, World Cup champion. Also, let's not forget just how much he was able to accomplish during his stint during the Overwatch League. Terrifying player.
And this is like, okay, fine. For Falcons, like if you want to go here, we will match that type of composition, right? They're probably not going to play the Baptiste like we talked about. Probably play the Illauri, kind of a variation of it.
And any kind of rush comp as well, like you bring Hanbin in, of course, probably gave us the single most incredible, passage of play on Junker Queen. That was like something that really blew our minds, I think, playoffs last year. Truly, truly incredible stuff. And again, Chia remains in the roster alongside Majid, which is, pretty incredible. Obviously, no substitutions here for ENCE, so that's something that's worth bringing up. Chase Torch is not with this team. And honestly, these guys, they're kind of quiet, right? And I think when Crimzo came out of this roster into the coach role, he had to find the player to step up in his absence to be the vocal component and also the person that lifts them back up when things get tough.
Yeah, they talked about it when we were talking to them that, Chase is definitely the vibes guy on the
vibes
team.
merchant, right?
Yeah, the person on the team. I would say like I'm the vibes person, the talent team.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Yeah, where, you don't have that player, right? It can be tough, right? You have that long break. Now you come back, you lose map number one. Like keep the vibe spirit high, the energy going, because this wouldn't be the only game they play, right? They'd have another game.
Because I'll be honest with you, when I saw, we obviously had a chance to chat with these guys, which was awesome. But initially I saw that we were talking to Kai and Kevster. And I was like, how on earth are we going to get answers out of these guys? They're very taciturn individuals. Like they really prefer to let their play do the talking. And that sort of also follows into sort of their team comps, but it's really been for Stola and Ghost that Crimzo has tried to sort of raise up into roles on this team to be vocal, to do a lot of that calling. And Master's always been involved. And Master's the least of my concerns when it comes to like players that are quiet, players that are, the guy is, he's got some incredible banter, but, a ton of experience to rely on as well.
And I think the difficulty will be for ENCE now throughout this series is that, let's say you even win this map, right? Obviously, Falcons can choose next map, next mode. They can take it to something that they know that they can play, whether it's Maga, whether it's Dive, right? You're going to have to beat them on one of their type of selections. Yes. So, losing that map number one, it's actually quite big, right? It's almost like a little bit of like a home court advantage where you can kind of keep the series in your
It could have been
favor.
so much worse for ENCE, Matt. We could have gone to Ilios. or a map that really does not favor those rush styles, I think that they're pretty happy to see Antarctic Peninsula. That is a map where we didn't even see, we didn't even see sub-level, right? We didn't even see that, which again was kind of a map where it could be a little bit harder to play those rush styles.
Yeah, and for Falcons, they bring out the Ventures. Awesome to see how they decided to use that hero where we talked about it, right? Cardiac Overdrive from Maga, such an insane tank cooldown, very strong. The combo that, with Venture, who they kind of can, with their abilities, gain some shield.
Well, you expose yourself to a
like,
lot of potential damage when you pop up.
It also makes it very difficult. Like, you have a Genji in your backline, the Venture's underground, then above, putting so much pressure. Like, who do you exactly focus on? It's really difficult to try and manage.
Oh, what we did do, Danny take a moment to have a bit of a chat with Falcons, get to know them better, and maybe learn a little bit about their aspirations here for our OWCS Major #1. So let's take a look and listen in.
Hi everybody, Danny Lim here, and I'm here joined by Team Falcons coming all the way from Korea. Guys, welcome to Dallas. You guys are living in Korea, right?
Yeah.
Team Falcons?
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is your first time actually living in Korea?
Basically, yeah.
How are you liking Korea?
So nice. Everything is so good. The food is insane. I love it.
What's a go-to Korean phrase?
Saying like kaja and scrims.
Kaja and scrims?
Kaja, it's like when we push.
You guys are definitely one of the top teams in OWCS right now. Is there a team that you guys consider as rivals right now?
크레이지 락콘 아니면 토론토?
토론토. Why Toronto?
그나마 잘하는 선수들이 제일 많고 해외에서 그리고 연습을 했을 때 좀 약간 다른 팀보다 조금 더 힘들었어요.
You guys are literally all superstars. You guys are like crowd favorites. You guys are all just like really good at the game. If you have to choose, besides from yourself, who is the best player in your team and why?
들었을 때 저희 팀에서 이제 저 빼고 그냥 잘하는 선수는 아무래도 스머프 명환이 형인 것 같아요. 아무래도 우승을 제일 많이 했으니까 잘하지 않을까.
I'm gonna count to three, from 3, 3, 2, 1, and then you guys, everyone, point at the player that you think is the best player on the team, okay? All right, I'm gonna count. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Best player, go. All right. We got some Smurf. Okay, we got proper. We got 2 proper, 2 Smurf, 2 and 2. Okay.
Are you pointing at me?
Oh,
You're best player.
Thank you,
all right,
bro.
Smurf, why'd you pick Sir Majan?
He's best player.
Best
World
player?
champion.
Eh?
World champion.
World
I
champion.
appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
He's world champion.
Do you guys like feel pressure to perform because there's so many big names in the group?
I don't think there's a pressure. We're just gonna have fun and then beat everyone.
How confident are you guys that you guys could win the whole event?
100%.
100%?
100%.
무조건 저희가 이긴다.
저도 지금은 무조건 이긴다 생각하긴 해요.
무조건이죠. 저도. 100%. Everyone says 100% they're gonna win it. All right, let's see if that comes true. Team Falcons, thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview. And yeah, let's say bye to the camera, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
바이바이.
Bye bye.
And you have it, Team Falcons, of course, putting their feet up a little bit in the media day before we started getting our scrims ironed out and ready to hit the stage. So far, they've been immaculate. I think that first map, look, competitive at times, yes, but we got to see them bring the Malga, the Venture, proper on the Genji, everything you could ask for from this team they've delivered. Now with some big substitutions coming into map #2, which is Circuit Royal.
Yeah, and right? I mean, they can do basically everything in terms of what
So we
they can bring
expect.
together from a team compositionally. So don't think there's going to be many weaknesses. Like maybe you feel like, okay, if we get them in a Sigma mirror,
I mean, this would have been a
closer.
super team in the OWL era, to make that clear.
Yeah, without a doubt,
team is-
right? I mean, Geo Fielder. I mean,
Hanbin
just
and
good
Smurf
enough. Yeah,
on the same team? Proper. Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? Sign
Stalker?
me up. With this, right? Like, okay. So now you get them to play Sigma-based compositions. You feel a little bit stronger if you're ENCE, right? Like, okay, fine. We kind of got them to concede to play a mirror potentially, right?
Yes.
With the subs coming in. This is like must win. Because if you can't win on this, what do you do?
Yeah, because you can choose map, mode, or type, it's reasonable to expect that you have chosen your best map here to try and get yourself even in the series and get off to a good start. I mean, what merit is there to saving that for later?
Or like, do you end up like, okay, like, you end up like losing this, right? In like a Sigma head-to-head. are you like, oh, maybe we're actually better off just trying to like bait them into running some Maga stuff that we feel like we can kind of counter on a different map, like if it goes terribly bad. So I think it'll add a lot of extra depth strategy. Players seem to love it, right? This has been going on in the APAC region since the start of the OWCS, so new here for the Major for the NA and EU teams, but seems to be a positive reception all around.
I want to point out here, of course, you know, qualification to Esports World Cup aside, which is obviously what is on the table here, you also earn an extra qualification spot for your region if you win here at this major.
Yes, which is a huge thing, right? You know, a huge prize pool, a lot of teams here from all over the world. So all of these teams, you know, kind of competing to get into EWC. As you see there, it'll be the 24th to 28th of July. So it's probably going to see the best teams, right, from all these different regions represented there.
And again, this would be just a taste of that for you here.
How many wins away is Jake's team from EWC?
Well, they're one win in, so...
I heard it was a forfeit.
Like?
I heard it was a forfeit.
A forfeit win?
Yeah, I heard it was
How many scrims you done? 0 scrims. Find you a team that wins games on 0 scrims. Well, you guys too busy? What?
Jake's team needs a little wild card spot, a little wild card entry.
Jake pretended like he's got a real job and didn't have time. What are you talking about? This guy's streaming every day.
Hey, my man is coaching. He is coaching up a storm.
That's true. Coaching Calling Heroes, right? That's right. I want to talk about that.
Private coaching as well.
Oh, that's it, yeah. You seen that course?
Yeah, he's been coaching Jaws.
All right. Kai, they're on your screen, sat by Kevster, both your DPS players here on Team ENCE. It can be a little bit hard to get them to express themselves at times, but once in-game, I think you can see more than you bargained for when it comes to the skill side of things.
And they're two players that can come alive at any time, right? You get a little bit more of a long-range map. You know, give Kai some more space on the hit scan, right? He can definitely start to come alive, make things pretty difficult here for Falcons.
Still, he has to tangle with either Proper or Stalker or both.
Right.
So, yes, in a nutshell, in a vacuum, rather.
But we've seen him, you know, in the past, whether it be on like the Widowmaker or like an Ashe or something like that, definitely go toe-to-toe with players of that caliber.
He has been expected to do that on a regular basis. So very much another day at the office for him. Circuit Royal, moments away, folks. Here, our second map in this series. Falcons already off to a hot start. But now, of course, ENCE have been able to choose map, mode, and location. And they've chosen a map that does not allow for those heavy-hitting, fast, close-up comps. It is all about long distance, keeping your opponents at arm's length. Maybe some hit scan in the mix.
Yeah, you would think, you know, long-range hit scan, you know, Ashe, Widowmaker, Sojourn in the mix. So, ENCE, they will be on offense to kick things off. As, Team Falcons on defense here.
Okay, Stalker has been playing so much Pharah in rank.
This is a... All right, so I don't think anyone had this on their bingo card. So this is a Widow Pharah composition, at least how it looks here at the start. So we have seen, I know these heroes, it's been kind of like rumored, like, okay, we're
a little bit of Weaver.
Pharah, a little bit of Life Weaver in the mix. I guess Weaver, kind of Mercy alternative. You know, how the devs imagined Life Weaver. Took a little bit to get there.
Well, he has great throughput, right? So his healing numbers are excellent, and also the ability to yank someone out of trouble should they need it. Quite critical here. The Pharah, it's the same, I guess, concept as you use it on Iconbolt defense, right? You can get a lot of good damage while staying out of line of sight. Kevster, you're instantly switching over towards the Tracer, though.
Yeah, and the Sojourn's going to be good here for Kai to kind of like farm some damage on the shield from Hanbin, and then maybe try and land a rail shot on the Stalker, but the damage that Stalker is going to be able to put down, if we can kind of play from a pretty safe position, is going to be really difficult to live through.
You have good shield pressure from your Baptiste, but of course also your Pharah. Those shots are just going to be aimed at that corner. So a lot of splash damage, and it's going to be a little frustrating for the Stoller to actually set up a staging ground here. Proper, on the other hand, can play quite safely, but already you see Falcons giving a bit of ground. It might be the pressure from Kevster forcing them to reposition.
Yeah, and I think trying to position around this corner, right, it's much safer from Stalker to play from this type of angle, as that can say pedal that. It looks like actually just get the elevator right off the rip there. Somebody was standing right underneath it, put his place down.
Stalker getting these shots down, really needs to connect. Some consecutive damage to put that heal pressure down on ENCE properly. Light grip to draw Hanbin back. He's a little bit low now. The kinetic grasp being used by Vistola. He's very healthy for the time being. Card stalled up in the corner. Marseille hit by an accretion there, able to get back to his feet, but there's the Pharah damage and the concussive shot. takes Ghost down. Stalker can use these pedals to never have to give up altitude. Can play from a moderately high position at all times.
Yeah, they're using the pedal to get Stalker into the air first, right? Instead of using all the boosters.
And for long, yeah.
And that allows him to stay in the air for much longer. So a really interesting use here of the Life Weaver in the Bara combination from Falcons.
He hasn't used his actual rocket pack at all. So he has a little bit of height to work with.
And what do you do? I mean, you're not going to look up and try and get rid of the pedal, right?
Kai has to punish here, but it's also an awkward angle for him to work on. There's a light grip into a gravitic flux. It's only Vistola going to be caught up in that one. So yes, he'll take half his health in damage. Amp Matrix here, Harpin has to respect it, but it's going to be a sound barrier coming out now. Stalker might choose this moment to go aggressive. Tree of Life pop down, and Proper finally is brought to heal by Kevster. The Tracer achieves its aim. And Chio also getting taken down now means you have little to work with as Falcons. Harpin trying to hold his ground, Marged for 2. A super sub comes in, point blank barrage comes out, but Vistola's going to catch Stalker inside the gravitic flux. That's 2. Kaya with an important rail to bring down the menace that was Marged. And Falcons are forced back as ENCE have 4 minutes to play.
Yes, Marged gets 2 there, and it makes it really interesting towards the end. Rocket barrage there, but not enough damage as Vistola ends up taking out the Pharah there. Quick turn. So look at this. So Falcons actually, they'll play a breakthrough. So break that back line. Now they'll have a Sojourn of their own. Stalker will just kind of move over and play that Pharah. Okay, so Ana now in the mix. A lot of changes here across the board. As for ENCE, right, you get Kevster away from the Tracer over to the Mei, as now they're going to play more of a rush.
This is why ENCE chose this map. This is where they want to find the biggest edge in composition. Nice accretion. Vistola trying to push up here after having to move away from that one. Here comes Kai though. Overclock really starting to leave a mark. The Mei wall though doesn't prevent Falcons from backing up, but Proper still not able to get away. Chio on the brig. Has the shield bash away from that disruptor shot now, and Stalker will only play the off angle while he can. Falcons are trying to group up. They're trying to find a chance to come back in, but their Bionade isn't enough of a staging ground for them to get into this fight. They've been stifled, forced back inside the second part of the map here, and that checkpoint is just around the corner. Stalker has to dive in, but has 0 support, and eventually Falcons must concede this stage. This is why ENCE want to play Circuit.
Yeah, they basically get second point there for free, right? Just one fight basically gets them all the way through that second checkpoint, which is massive. They push up Vistola, finding Proper there as they're kind of pushing up towards that choke is massive. Sojourn such a large portion of damage that the Falcons are going to put down, right? The Sojourn rails are really what's going to allow Stalker to get into that backline, finish players off rather quickly.
Falcons have to give up much of this stage pretty much straight away because they need to operate on this high ground. They'll drop down now as the car gets close to the corner. The Marged really wants to facilitate a big moment for Proper. His Sojourn, incredible, world-beating. With an nano boost, even stronger. Here they come. Mei at the forefront now for ENCE, but they've lost Kai instantly. Stalker's able to get in there before the sound barrier can be activated. That's the problem for the European squad. Annihilation now. Stalker not too bothered by it. They want to try and burst Vistola down, but it's just so durable. Master sound barrier out of the picture. He's off the table. Stalker and Proper now combining the DPS, fighting the mark, and enter in an awkward position. Wrong side of the cart for a moment. Falcons finally strike back.
In terms of ultimates used, though, is that a fight that you're okay with if you're ENCE, right? You end up using your Ramatra ult, right? But you're going to switch anyway. You use B. The bad part is they don't use Blade, right, on the other side. But there were 3 ultimates used there by Falcons. I think the hardest thing will be Stalker with this Blade. How do you end up living on through this?
Marged switches over to the Baptiste here. Stalker would love to get some purchase with this Blade, but it's always risky now up against the Baptiste. Goes a little low. Has to go for an immortality, but it's so early. Stalker says, righto, drop down, gets out, Makai meets him in the door. That is massive. And look at Harpin getting caught out. Kevster does more than enough here. And this is dangerous now for Falcons. 2 minutes 23 still to work with for ENCE. They are blazing through the map.
Yeah, Proper uses the overclock, but can't really step up, right? There's that Blizzard in the way. And also there's an Amp Matrix there from Ghost. Is Pale getting very close to the finish line.
Stalker goes in, Master gets cleaned up on a Swift Strike, and so there's a reset available and another one for Stalker. He's far from done! At 4 for Stalker. Marged gets involved as well. And that is a convincing defensive burst here from Falcons.
There's still loads of time left though, right? A minute 55. The cart basically at the end of the map. So looks like Stalker now will go over to the Hanzo here. Hanzo's just great to get those, like, just A lot of cross map, finish a player off, right?
Shield pressure's great.
Shield pressure's really good because I think what ENCE wants to do here is try and take this high ground control. You see them wrapping around, get this overclock, 1 or 2 picks, you drop down to the card, you have a map completion.
It doesn't mean they're going to butt heads at this choke a fair bit. So Stalker still having the ability to traverse up these walls, get onto the other side of them might be important. Disrupt the shot thrown out by Kai. They're going to come forward now. It's going to be an overclock here from the Brit.
Yeah, they try and get a Mei wall there to kind of like split some players off, also block that Ant Matrix, but everybody just kind of evades this for Falcons. So pretty nice there from
Massa was licking his lips there,
Yeah.
though. That was so close to the edge of the map. He was looking for an environmental. That's risky business, Massa. He's a slippery succulo, hard to catch, but eventually Storm Arrow will find him. And it's Lucy. Stalker able to stave off the threat of Lucio. Yep, that is a very dead Baptiste. Pistola, make sure of it. Rally low for the rest of Falcons. Harmbin also has a flux of his own. Falcons are in a pretty decent spot defensively, and they bring down the Sigma. They'll concede the high ground for now, but Harmbin has no intention of giving it up for good.
So you lose this fight here. If you're ENCE, you're going to have another opportunity here.
Not so much time now.
Yeah, no, not. I mean, that takes so long to develop, right? At that choke, you're just kind of like playing that Sigma poke damage game there. But here's the positive for ENCE, right? You get Pistola now on the Ramatra. You can get really aggressive behind the sound barrier. You have an Ant Matrix of your own, and you have this Blizzard, which was good for a fight win the last time.
Final fight comes up now. ENCE have to make this Blizzard work. Like you mentioned,
You wanted to wall off this top high ground there.
you want him to drop down. Get value out of the beats. Make sure you're playing close together. ENCE still a little bit caged though, because Harmbin steps up to the choke and they know he still has a gravitic flux. Here's a Blizzard. Dragon Strike comes in for the high ground and immediately Kempster has to go into ice blocks. Flux though, this could be big. Kempster's in trouble. Held aloft and turned into a pin cushion by Stalker and co. Proper now with an overclock. Immortality Field has to be deployed there, but it might just be too early and it might just be too late for ENCE. The wrap from Proper is good. Ghost has no chance of hanging around here. And ultimately, Falcons bring ENCE to a screeching halt.
Falcons will need basically a full map completion though, to take the match, right? It goes all the way down to the wire. I think if you're ENCE, you're probably okay with that in that scenario. Because think about it for ENCE, right? You got that distance. You basically just walk through second point. So you figure you put together a good point, A, defense. Obviously, if you just get 2 fights there, and that second checkpoint, you're going to burn a little bit more time off the clock. You figure in that scenario, you're actually in a pretty decent spot if you're ENCE potentially of getting a hold.
Reality is though, Harmbin not having to switch to Ramatra for a second.
I mean, they changed their...
They come from Falcons though, being able to keep the Ram like, you know, away, being able to find value from that sort of poke from Harmbin. It's a big deal. How do you feel about the Hanzo switch in the end? Does it have the impact you think Stalker is going to?
So the Dragon is actually pretty effective, right? They drop an Ant Matrix, they use Blizzard, they're trying to put pressure onto Harmbin. It's actually a life grip from the Life Weaver that kind of brings him up to the high ground. But that Dragon is shot into that area, right? So there can't be any follow-up, potentially split some players off. So quite effective in terms of just overall damage output, and then also the ultimate to kind of split players.
Double hit scan for the defenders. Kempster. Reasonably often do you see him pick up that Sojourn in the past, tangling with some of the best in the world, like Merit and such. Out of the gates we go. Falcons here do have the fire still. No, switch off, and also a brick for Chio.
Yeah, a little bit of a safer composition here from Falcons. It's maybe a quick switching in swap back there from Proper as ENCE running the Cassidy with the Sojourn, right? So this is just long range poke damage. I think the Cassidy's pretty good, obviously. It's almost like a defense mechanism for Kempster, right? No, the Hinder Grenade there.
Oh, that's not good! Well,
Yeah.
you cannot linger out in his sights like that. Something like Proper's going to punish you 10 times out of 10. And ENCE don't even have the speed to fall back properly. They'd be lucky to get out of this fight without losing more players, man.
I mean, they just kind of hightail it out, right? They don't want to take any chip damage. Any damage there would have been a clear go sign there from Falcons. Get like a Stalker with a dash into that back line as he's already putting some pressure on the Kempster here. If what comes down is looks like Falcons now just positioned around this corner trying to take checkpoint A.
Stalker's playing the off angle here. Might be able to get around the shield again. It's Proper though finding Kai. He outranges Cassidy so effectively at that range. Immortality Field also out of the picture now. ENCE know they're just feeding themselves into the wood chipper. Becoming glorified mulch for the flower bed surrounding this map.
The payload has reached
And this is a bad sign for ENCE, right? These are the compositions that they feel like they are much stronger than Falcons are. Falcons obviously have to make some substitutions for players to come in to play these types of compositions. And right there, so they just roll through them on that first checkpoint.
Out of the gates we come once more, and Celeste with an amplification matrix to play off of, but Falcons absolutely have the momentum here. Disrupt the shot, may allow Vistola to maneuver into a position to lead from the front, but this Falcons team are unlikely to give you much of an opportunity to breathe. Most again, really a baptism of fire for this player, getting caught up into the biggest of matches. Okay, air majesties on both sides. Gravitic Flux only catches the stone. Oh, he's going to go down to this. It has to be in a mortality field. Good timing from Ghost. Hold it for the right moment. Eventually, Harbin is able to remove it though. Steps ahead. Kinetic Grasp. Look at that bloody health bar. And Margin's able to bring Vistola down in the background. Sound barrier for ENCE, not nearly enough. They are losing their grip on this map.
Oh my god. He barely even saw Masa there. Just turns with another railgun shot at the end. So just like ENCE, where they were able to kind of like walk through up towards that high ground, that second checkpoint. Really Hanbin with that Flux that opens things up. More than 5 minutes on the clock for essentially 92 meters left there for Falcons. This has been a bit of a speed run.
Stalker now has an opportunity to turn this Dragon Blade into something truly fearsome.
Well, right, they used Sound Barrier before, so really, you're just looking, can you catch him in a Flux, potentially? We've seen it attempted a few times now, but not successfully.
They're pushing Stalker away from the accretion. I love the timing. Has to back away, but he's forced out the immortality field.
That was the Flux
also
as
the
well.
Flux. Where did that go? Does he get interrupted? It's unclear. Falcons are still very, very healthy, and Stalker is satisfied just poking away, because all this time, the card is moving towards the end of the map, with multiple players on it. ENCE have to take action. They surge out now onto the high ground, and they finally get their pick off on Chio. Speed boost from Masa has to have been instrumental there.
Yes, the fight gets really split there in that type of position. It's not entirely done. You're going to have Chio coming off of respawn. You do have the larger source of healing alive here for Falcons. That's going to be an amp matrix, but you lose Majet.
You still work with this though. Hanbin moves up with Flux. Look how low Vistola is, and he's already used the kinetic grasp. In fact, he gets ignored by the rest of Falcons during the duration. So no free health, no overshield. And here come the Falcons. Looking to charge down the door. 4 minutes in the game. That is ridiculous. Vistola switches to the Ramatra.
Rally, a Flux, and potentially another Blade here for Falcons. He has Flux, dude. Masa's going to have to try and live and maybe get a beat off here. It'll be Kai with an overclock from the high ground.
Immortality field has to be used now, but in for a penny, in for the pound, says Kai.
There's the beat.
Probably not thinking much about his national currency right now. He's trying to stay alive in the game. Stalker here able to stay scarce on that low ground. Immortality field's already gone, but it doesn't matter because there was enough of a window for Falcons to throttle ENCE. This one is over.
It's a ENCE map pick. They take us to Circuit Royale, try and force those Sigma Ramatra comps.
And then they get taken to In-N-Out.
And I mean that is a throwback. You got Zoe's attention for that one. She started laughing.
Good, all right.
I mean,
Someone's laughing.
Yeah. She's not even paid to laugh at you. I mean, she's laughing just because she actually thought it was funny.
That's because we're homies, you know. Someone's gonna look out for me.
I mean, Falcons just look so strong there, even though you're playing this like Sigma-based composition that maybe you feel like you're a little bit stronger on for ENCE. They still have Hanbin. They still have Proctor on the other side. Certain Jen comes in. You don't even play the Alarm. Played a lot of Baptiste. Yeah. Pretty much strictly only the Baptiste.
Oh, it was only Baptiste.
The Alarm, maybe in the spawn a little bit, but they kind of play the Baptiste or out. Light Weaver sometimes, Brig other times. Really strong showing there from Falcons.
We're also reminded as well of just how incredible Chio is at that Brig. The rally timing was very, very good. And you notice again how, like, Genji does have to work around a lot of these support ultimates. So Stalker has to bide his time. We saw a Blade drawn there that seemed to force out like an Ice Wall, it forced out an Immortality Field. He says, you know what? My Blade for their Immortality Field, it's a trade I take 100% of the time. And Hanbin holds a Gravitic Flux for like a minute, going to the last phase of the map, and it's almost a Damocles sword that ENCE have to face down here in the final moments. Let's take it back, look back over this map as it went down.
And it felt like just a lot of searching from ENCE the entire map to feel like what they could get going, right? We saw them bringing out the Mei in combination with the Sojourn. We saw Cassidy Sojourn, we saw Tracer, switches from the backline into tank role, right? Whether it be Ramatra, Sigma, it just felt like they never could get like the upper hand in the matchup. Or if they did for a fight, it would just be quick swaps there from Falcons to counter.
And you can see how much is asked of your Baptiste player in a map like this. Ghost has, a big job to step up to. I think he does really well. Like in general, I think his immortality field timings are very good because Festola is getting isolated. He's getting rushed into, and there's obviously the threat of him getting picked off. Quite often Hampton says, if I just catch the enemy Sigma inside this flux, I'm happy enough with that. I can make something happen there.
What do you do map-wise now if you're ENCE? It looks like, Legit coming out of the game, it looks like you'll see Hanbin leave as well. So what would you do here if you're ENCE? Like, are you going to try and, okay, let's play another Sigma Ramantra map, or let's do something that's a little bit more open?
I mean,
Midtown was one of the other ones I actually would have thought potentially.
But the fact that we are
seeing
we're seeing a switch at tank with Smurf coming back in here.
Right. I mean, Midtown, look, I mean, you can play
Kings. You're not playing Hollywood. You're not playing 66.
Kings, they're just going to play. I mean, so Kings Row, if you believe you can kind of like do a nice hold on the first point, right, and hold high ground, I get it. If you give that up, I feel like you're just going to get slaughtered by the Maga throughout the map.
Colosseo. Is that an option?
Yeah, I think the push maps, right, it gives you a little bit of a kind of like 50-50, right, where maybe you feel like you can play some of the long-range hit scan, right? Maybe you can play a Hans of your own, get some damage down at range. So it'll be Numbani here. So Numbani, you can get like a high ground setup there on defense on that first point. Lots of high ground on it. Maybe you feel like you can kind of take advantage.
You can't sell this to me as a rush map. There's no way.
No. Not at all. I mean, but we talk like Falcons is so one-dimensional. They're just going to put, Smurf in the game, and they're going to be able to do just about everything. I mean, what you would say Smurf? I mean, you can play like Sigma and Ram, but like you'd probably want him on just about everything else. You feel like there's another alternative, another option there for them to play.
How many heroes do we see Kevster on their last map? Quite a few.
Yeah.
Trace of the May, of course, was a big factor there. We saw the double hit scan. He picked up the Sojourn for a time, right? Seems reasonable. You want to try and find a way to pressure down a potential Farah comp by going for double hit scan. Doesn't really pay off for them. And I must say, even though we didn't see shock and awe moments from Stalker's Farah, the combo with the life orb, you can see just how obnoxious she is when she never really has to touch grass.
Yeah, it's a really kind of like a annoying combination they end up pulling out here. So like we talked about, Han played great, but Smurf will come back in, and that insane backline of Fielder and Shio getting back together again.
And we saw obviously the preference for Ana from Fielder, which I do think has always sort of been a Fielder special. Obviously having the Baptiste of Mancha to lean on. At least we don't have to watch Fielder play Moira anymore. That's very 2022.
You could play the Farah here, right, on the Bonnie. I know we've seen Farah historically.
I would say it's been one of our most ubiquitous maps. No? Remember, Numbani was out of the map pool for like more than a year.
Yes.
I would say the entirety of 2023 it was unselectable.
Yeah, it just disappeared for a little bit. We didn't know where Numbani went, and Numbani kind of came back. And I think players are obviously like pretty split on Numbani.
Sure.
But this is a map that in the past, right, you have that off angle, you can put down some damage with that Farah, right, kind of like push up towards that high ground on defense on that first point. I think the hardest thing is like second point on Numbani, right? The spawn point's so far away, and it makes it really difficult to play.
And for those who are just joining us, welcome, of course. We have two matches happening simultaneously here. We have a B stream, OW_Esports B, if you're over on Twitch or YouTube. We've got, obviously, we've got Jaws and Necro there, and that's NRG Shock going up against Space Station Gaming. So that is happening simultaneously.
Yep, we don't know the results. Could be done.
Didn't ask.
Could still be going.
Didn't have time to ask here, but yeah, well, we're checking.
But you have time to check, yeah.
These are both upper bracket matches, right? So again, double elimination tournament format. So the loser of these matches behind us, they will obviously drop down, still have another opportunity here, which could create some very interesting inter-regional, rematches.
The loser of this will play again today, right? So they'll play again later. So you had a little bit of a break. Now you play this match, and then you kind of have another one later for your real tournament lives.
Yeah, and again, you only have a very brief window where you know who your opponent's actually going to be. So you have to figure out what your strategy is going to be, what maps you're going to be selecting, how you're exactly going to respond to that. We're obviously still waiting to jump into map number 3. We have substitutions. So that involves a couple of moving parts here, namely the side of Falcons, who just seem to find superstars sat in the closet and just wheel them out to put a keyboard and mouse on their hands and let them go.
Yeah, I know with a roster that talented, right, with all the different kind of like map mode combinations that you can obviously play, they want to utilize these players and you know what they probably feel like is the most efficient manner. So like we talked about, Smurf comes back in, Fielder comes in as well as we go to Numbani, a little bit of a maybe not a real surprise pick here for ENCE, but maybe not the map that we had anticipated.
No, we didn't go. I think like we were thinking a little one-dimensionally. I think when we talk about what ENCE's preference is going to be, we said look, it's very unlikely they opt into what could be a map that favors the dive composition or causes them to have to trend away from their rush style. But they've obviously got something prepared for it here. And I want to bear in mind, even though they have a very strong stated preference, they have DPS players that can cover basically every role. So Pistola, in his time, especially in the league, we've also seen him play things like D.Va. I don't think there was ever really a preference for Pistola to play Winston. That's just not been a hero that we've ever associated him with.
Yeah, and in terms of the backline, right? Like Lucio Baptiste, like it could be quite difficult. Maybe they have a little bit of a surprise here for us, right? I know Masa
played a lot of Brig.
We could play Brig here. We just saw that Falcons ended up playing the Brig a little bit there in combination with the Baptiste. So
he's so funny.
Option.
Obviously, Masa, we're talking about a player who came out of retirement. Do you remember his retirement tweet?
Every Overwatch player has retired a few times.
It was the most unceremonious. I mean, again, the guy he hails from Finland and definitely, I would say, sometimes falls into some of the stereotypical traits, like being very understated, like doesn't blow anything out of proportion. He was like, I'm retiring, bye. and he's back.
And now he's back.
Yes. We're obviously all the happier for it. So a couple of moments here, folks, and we'll be jumping straight into Numbani. We've got our number 2 from EMEA taking on our number 2 from, I can't believe it's number 2, from APAC. Yeah, it's Falcons. Yeah, so far they've looked a cut above, and there's been a lot of discussion about, are we going back to an era where, teams from South Korea, absolutely terrifying, going to kind of win everything. And there's been a decent amount of, I'd say, discourse on that topic. We've had a lot of our, Western teams think, no, we can absolutely handle these guys. Remember, a lot of the players have played against these like South Korean superstars for a while. So I expect this era to be more competitive in that interregional sense than the pre-hour one, for example, if you can remember that far.
I mean, you think back to Overwatch World Cup, which isn't too long ago, right? Extremely competitive, right? Obviously, South Korea does not win that event. So
Finland makes top 4, as they always seem to do. It's the team from China and Saudi Arabia in the finals.
Right. So I think that kind of gives the rest of the world hope that they've kind of caught up in terms of style of play and whatnot. I think, though, it's also helpful that, when you look at the Asia region, right, so many teams made up with, superstar players. It's, such a great pool of teams to scrim from.
I'm not seeing the catching up.
You're not seeing,
I'm not seeing it right now.
We've seen 2 games.
Yes.
And you're already done.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it yet. That's all I'm saying. I haven't. What do you think? Yeah, so he's laughing. Listen, I have seen no evidence. This is the number 2 team from APAC.
Yeah.
This is not the number 1.
Okay.
And this is a paddling that they are handling out right now. A very convincing Circuit Royal.
Well, maybe the catching up isn't in this game. Maybe it's later.
We're going to catch up with you guys, speaking of, on the other side of this quick break. Stick around. It's going to be Falcons versus ENCE here, map number 3. Will soon be upon us. Surprisingly, it's Numbani on the cards here for our third map in this series, a map that ENCE have selected to stay alive in this upper bracket. And as a result, we're expecting something a little special from them because their second chances have run dry.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's the same kind of Sigma-based compositions that they've been running, and they feel like Numbani gives them an opportunity to capitalize on some of those things, make it a little bit even harder for Falcons to play around. And maybe you feel like you can't play the Maga here. Maybe you kind of have an idea that they wouldn't match Sigma, so it forces them to something different completely.
Look, it's very reasonable here, that Sigma comp. The problem is there are some maps where if you are playing Dive, you can just ignore the Sigma, head over his head, and he doesn't have exactly the best capacity to interrupt you, like, with the Winston Sigma matchup. But I think in general, very serviceable tank on many parts of this map, if not 0.8, than the rest of it. I feel like I haven't heard this music in absolutely bloody ages.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I was like, man, this is like Bala. Let's take a look here with Falcons on defense. So at least early on, it looks like they were playing the Maga on defense in combination with an Echo Genji. A little bit of a pause here as we'll come back.
Anything else you want to talk about, man? Oh my god, man.
Hell of a basketball game last night. I see some Dallas Mavericks fans here.
They won the series, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to the World Series, right?
Yeah, they're going to the World Series.
You know, Luka Doncic is a top 500 tank player.
Yeah, did you know that before production told you?
No, absolutely not. That's cool though. Shout outs. No, I saw a tweet about it actually.
Yeah.
I tell a lie. I thought he was a PGA golfer though.
You're on Twitter?
Yeah. Find me at JawsCast. Give me a follow. Yeah. Ask me for Overwatch skins. I got tons.
Yes, we'll figure out what's going on here on the stage. But looks like potentially you'll see Stalker playing the Echo, trying to burst some players down as they try and work through chokes there up towards that high ground where ENCE decides to play some stuff with the Ramontra or Sigma. Probably going to take loads of damage from the Maga and moving through those chokes.
I mean, again, like the general approach against the Sigma is to try and overwhelm as quickly as possible, right? And so much of Malga's kit seems to be geared towards that. I mean, Cardiac O-Drive just to make it such a mismatch in terms of, your durability and your general healing in that moment seems to be geared for exactly that. So those small windows, if Falcons are able to, abuse them, especially with like the unloading of those Echo cooldowns, especially on the direction of a backliner, like a Ghost, for example, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, no, and with a Maga, right? Cardiac Overdrive plus like a Baptiste, right? Immortality field, burst, and just the overall healing. It's very difficult to take down that Maga. Feels like it takes tons of resources to do so. By the time you do that, there's a Genji Echo, in your backline flying above you. You've lost a player or two. And then you're on a trade, on the side of a trade that's just not favorable.
It actually simulates a similar play style as the Moira compositions used to, like the Lucio Moira
like zombie comps.
Like where you try and build a coalescence every other fight, sometimes consecutive fights if you possibly could, and to get that mismatch in the numbers game, right? You have more healing and you're also doing some extra residual damage. Again, this ENCE team have high expectations coming out of the region as the number 2. We took a moment to sit alongside them and get an idea of how they're feeling going up against the world. 1, 2, 3.
Howdy, partner. Well, I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matt Morella. We've managed to wrangle a number 2 seed from the EMEA region. It is ENCE, and we're here to find out if it is indeed too easy for ENCE.
I'm sure you guys have watched, NA and APAC. How have they played? Are there any teams that you're kind of excited to see here?
Students of the game. I want to see if they can actually win a map.
Who's the worst traveler out of you? Who would definitely get lost if they had to do it on their own?
Kev.
What do you That was a quick answer.
That was fast.
That was a quick answer.
How does that make you feel?
Defense.
This is bullshit.
What's your journey been like, obviously having been a player for many years, into a coaching role?
I was always kind of very active in terms of strategy and stuff like that. So it's something that I've always been interested in. And honestly, moving into the coaching role now, it feels very natural to me. Kind of gather the troops and create ideas, create things out of thin air, start to cook and stuff like that.
How's he been as a coach?
Really? Really?
Would you guys say that you're like a more like a low energy team? I want you all to point to who you think is the best player on the team. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I like this. These two. We're kind of split. Yeah, I like that.
I think Falcons said that they felt that you guys were one of the weakest opponents to take on at this event.
I think it's funny for them to say that when, despite all the resources they have, they almost didn't make it here. So it's pretty funny. I mean, I see them as pretty weak as well.
Here's what we're doing. We're lassoing. We're gonna get one of these chairs and you guys get a couple tries, this one here, to get the freaking lasso onto one of the poles, right? Yeah.
Lasso.
Lasso! Is that you say?
You said lasso.
Oh, is it lasso?
Oh my goodness. Look at this one.
Wait, how are you supposed to lasso if you let go of the whole thing? Yeah, you go. Look at that slack.
Oh.
That's easy. Maybe we should make it longer for everyone else. Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I'm sure that was, you guys all look like you've had the time of your lives. It's been great doing this with you. See you guys out there.
Lasso. Lasso, right?
Yeah.
Why did I don't know how I went my whole life for that really. I mean, it's not really a word that comes up in average conversation.
Well, you were just doing what you usually do. Is you usually try and like make everything sound way cooler than it actually is. You know, add like different syllables to it. So he's not underhead cheese.
Extra syllables?
Yeah. You just kind of add.
No,
add
you just think any word
words.
that's not monosyllabic has extra syllables added unnecessarily.
Nah, Griffin hit me up. He's like, I can't understand what
Griffin thinks you probably think. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm Griffin's translator.
Nambani, of course, is our next map. On deck, we are in. And of course, we briefly saw what the composition for the Falcons was shaping up to be. One that featured an Echo, one that featured a Malga as well. They're going to do the thing where they walk out of the doors menacingly once more. And we'll get to delve a little bit more into what their composition is looking to achieve.
There's no like it's completely different.
Yeah,
than
that'll be
last
funny.
No, it looks like they'll go back to kind of what they were hovering the last time. So Maga with an Ana in place. I feel there was like landing sick bio grenades there, map number 1. Look to see if he's able to do that yet again. As ENCE, obviously, some time without the Pistola Wrecking Ball would be a little bit of a curveball here.
What is it? Masa has his hands on his head right now. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. That explains it.
I can't believe you spoiled it.
I just saw the guy like, exactly. Oh, I'm not sure what to make of that.
I didn't see it until you said it, and then I saw Masa's hands on his head.
Yeah,
and usually when you don't have the hands on the keyboard and the door's about to open, it's usually not a great sign. And then, you know, I think though that this means it's entirely your fault.
Would you like to expand upon that a little bit, just for those at home?
You were the one. You were the one who called it out. So it's kind of like smelled the Delta scenario. So you were you.
All right, you heard it here, folks.
You saw it
Matt
first,
Morello likening in-game issues to farts.
So you saw it first. So clearly it was you.
I'm so glad I asked you to expand on that further, folks. Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Thank you, of course, for your patience.
We're back,
and we're paid by the word, so we're loving life right now. I'll tell you that one for free.
No wonder why Joss talks so much.
Speaking of which, you can find him over on the V-Stream, OW_Esports 2. With Necker, of course, they are covering the NRG Shock, who, if you are just catching up, were students of the game and then had that epic reveal at the start of the show. They're going up against Space Station Gaming. That's your NA number 3 versus your EMEA number 1 team, fighting, of course, in this upper bracket.
And that, obviously we don't know. The match is still going on. Maybe finished. We don't know.
If it's still going, I'd be shocked if it's still going. They're on map 3?
We're
on map 3 too.
So,
crazy.
Students of the game though now Shock, really fun, up and coming NA team. Don't know if a lot of people even expect them to be here, right? Needed some things to kind of go their way to do so. but really awesome that they're here competing on land.
Generally considered underdogs. I mean, we heard Kai sort of say in a previous interview, like he'd be surprised if they won a map, which is, okay, fighting words, to be honest, a bit of bravado there, but...
I mean, that's what everybody says, like when they get asked to talk trash about another team. Like,
we did not think they initially would be qualifying, right? There were other NA teams that we thought might be ahead of them. Luminosity, for example, right?
Yeah.
But that did not come to pass. So they've really come a long way. And in the Faceit League are also demonstrating some great development. So I'm looking forward to checking in with that again here.
Third time's the charm. Here we go. We're getting this one. Masa, hands on keyboard.
They haven't dropped the music quite yet because you don't want to jinx it.
So get into this work. So the thing that ENCE has been hovering consistently has been this Bastion pick. So potentially gonna come out on the spawn.
Is this just a bully onto that high ground?
It's a lot of damage. When he is obviously in turret form. The bad part would be, wheels mode, as most people call it. A little round of applause there. You're really looking this May wall to maybe kind of split the Maga off. Looks like they're going back to spawn. I feel like the Echo would really destroy some of this. Right?
You can stay far enough out of Bastion's range to be pretty unbothered.
You just stick bombs in, and you just kind of kite it when he's not in wheels mode. He's such an easy target.
Dexter wants to try and wrap around the outside here, whilst the rest of Falcons will be waiting. ENCE might look to take the more direct route already. The Tracer going to work with a bit of flanking, but Masa, he's taken down with the shoulder charge. An immortality field here for Vistola, but it gives him the window to take Proper out of the picture. And Kempster's still hunting, but he's done his job thus far. A lot of pressure going down on the defenders, but Proper still on the way back from spawn.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of pressure onto Smurf and not able to get a line of sight to be able to heal him there. So Fielder up on the opposite side, high ground. Some damage that comes down from ENCE. The Tracer's really powerful against this, right? Tracer's always been pretty good.
Echo.
Yeah, pretty good against the Echo, where Kepster, one of the best Tracers in the world, comes up with a few picks that kick things off, as that'll be a fast point A take for ENCE.
Yeah, a bit of life here, I think, for ENCE. Oh, sleep dart there catching on the Kepster, but obviously no opportunity for Falcons to follow. Cassidy as well, a constant threat to someone like the Genji, whose mag grenade would make it very hard for Genji to get out of the fight. Fielder gets picked off, so ENCE able to put together a bit of a stagger here and push up quite far. Space that the cart will soon fill.
And they go back to the Hanzo. So we saw Falcons do this early on in the series. That when they see the Sigma on the other side, there was obviously a Venture in play earlier when they tried. They tried Venture with the Genji. Now they actually go and they will play the Hanzo. So we've also seen this look a little bit easier at longer range. Hanzo also pretty scary for the Tracer.
Now can threaten the Cassidy as well. Absolutely has him on range. A lot of that damage fall off for Cassidy, kicks in pretty quickly.
A lot of ultimates for ENCE.
Good defensive pressure for this Falcon squad. Proper going upstairs now to try and get Vistola apart with some of those cooldowns. And Kepster is always on the hunt, always on the flank. There's another swift strike in, so Proper must have seen something, an opportunity to go in. Look at those health bars, great pressure, already get a mortality field forced out of ENCE. Smurf does go down. Can Falcons turn this into something though? Oh, what a sleep. But there's no way to follow up with it properly unless Stalker gets involved. Kepster was lying prone, sleeping. Stalker's able to find the headshot. Also, Ghost missing means no Baptiste. But the mortality field got oozed already. That's 3 for Stalker. Chio gets involved, flattens Kai, and now it's just for Solar. It almost feels like a solo effort from the Hanzo here, Matt.
I mean, Chio and Fielder are so sick, able to live through that there. Chio gets right around the corner, helps Fielder stay alive, but Stalker, like you mentioned, some big damage there from that high ground. It felt like for a while it was just both teams just kind of like posturing for position. So you do get Smurf rather early, and I believe Smurf was actually nano boost at the time. So a huge kill there, just not able to convert into the point.
Our observers are like, there's no way we're missing anymore. The Stalker on deck with him. Big impact after switching. Sonic here reveals ENCE trying to set up on the high ground. Maybe give Cassidy some room to breathe. Some room to do work. Accretion, it's going to knock the Marga off the high ground. This could be problematic for Falcons. They have to give up that ground as well. They drop away. Nice little pulse bomb there. Smurf gets brought down as Vistola confirms the kill. It's a gravitic flux, a big one. Sound barrier now here for ENCE. Kai is starting to feel that pressure, and Stalker's desperately clinging to life. A Dragon Blade, it's an option for Proper, but they've lost their back line, and the cart gets over the line.
Yeah, they are really making it difficult for Smurf on this Maga. It is not paid off in the same way that we saw in map number 1, right? They are able to run that Maga against the Sigma pretty much throughout the entire match with great success. This time, though, it's consistently Smurf being that first one dead in these fights.
Last phase of the map, 4 minutes to work with. Scenario that has played out many times before on this map.
This feels like a fight, though, where ENCE is just trying to, build up some ultimates here to go into, a next fight. Maybe a win here for ENCE, essentially getting around this corner, having them use an ultimate or 2 on the other side, and then coming back with a better case in the next one.
Nano Blade, proper going in. Oh, okay, nicely done behind the slam of the Margarine. He goes. Immortality Field also assisting. Ghost was brought down. And Proper didn't have much to do, in fact.
Yeah, but that's to be expected, right? I mean, there was really nothing for ENCE to be able to use.
It's clean.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of nice there towards the end. But, ENCE, they get that payload towards that corner, right? Now they come back with an amp matrix, right? They can kind of buy themselves some more space and then maybe get closer towards that flux.
ENCE want to move up. On this high ground with Pistola at the 4. These hyperspheres are quite a nuisance for the defending team. Oh, they're going to push out themselves. Look at this. Look at the Malga. Straight to the low ground they go already. Immortality Field has been removed. And Massa was first on the menu. Ghost here desperately trying to get the rest of his team up. It's a beautiful sleep. And that is Stalker again going to work on the attackers. That's 2 consecutive fights. 1 here for Falcons. But the card. Gapster.
No way.
Not a chance. What a heist. You snooze, you lose!
Score.
I mean, that is what a play. I mean, they were losing the fight, right? Pistola gets slept out of the flux, and it doesn't even matter. I mean, Kev just gets on the cart and just runs away with it.
Not quite as egregious as what we witnessed out in the Japanese region earlier this year, but it's up there.
Yeah, that was insane. That looked fake.
This is like a wake-up call with Hot Magma. I think the Falcons definitely now are alert. Because they were in a good position. That's 2 consecutive fight wins. But you heard the music kick in, right? Starting to realize, wait a minute, something is not right. Egg on the face for Team Falcons. Still 2 minutes and 24 for ENCE to work with. That's a very healthy time bank for a map of this size.
Yeah, I mean, extremely healthy. They get it basically by coming out on like a little bit of a backup there from Ketzer. So Torbjorn is actually, even throughout history of Overwatch, has actually had a pretty good run here on Bonnie, right? Turret for Crossfire, can kind of play in multiple different positions. So, Falcons looks to be potentially changing it up a little bit with Fielder here on the creep.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit more flexibility in healing and also some mobility. A Kempster Torb showcasing that legendary flexibility is going to be a big problem for Proper.
And what's your thoughts on them going towards that win? Like, I actually think the Mago is really not doing much there. They were trying to kind of combo the Maga charge with the slam with some of the stuff that they were doing with the Genji, but they just couldn't feel like they could get it down.
I mean, again, that was a Suzu having to be used there to keep Smurf alive, but it works, that little window of invulnerability. Matt, I feel like the Falcons can really pile in a lot more effectively than they could with the Malga. Yes, they have less of those AoE bonuses, so these fights have to be quick. And that means that Immortality Field has to go early. But this is good. Proper now, giving a bit of ground. That pressure still mounts, but that Torb turret is going to be a constant nuisance.
I mean, this is going to be harder for Falcons to like navigate, right?
But they are that good, Matt.
But it is also Smurf on Winston, right? Where if they're trying to navigate this and make it work on the Maga, you'd much rather see him just trying to play the Winston, but it's a little bit less optimal because he's so good at it.
It's hard to make work, but if any team are going to do it, it's going to be Falcons. Now ENCE, right, well, we have to defend here against this dive comp. Not the worst thing ever. A bit frustrating for Pistola to be able to heal adequately. So I like that ENCE looked to take space and play this corner.
Yeah, Falcon's gonna have this Kitsune Rush though, right? Kitsune Rush with Sound Barrier here is that's gonna be the rush. Immortality Field used here with Amp Matrix here from Ghost, just trying to keep everybody out of this small room.
All right, the Sound Barrier had to be there. Stalker trying to wrap around it with the Duplicator and the Tracer, able to take Ghost down. But Smurf, the tip of the spear, already snapped into Sound Barrier plus Air Matrix. It's very hard to break the bunker that ENCE set up.
Yeah, but you do have a spawn advantage here for Falcons, right? So every gonna be back here is you're not gonna have Ghost for a very long time, right? Numbani's second point is such a long walk back as it's gonna be a blade for Proper. He's gonna get 2. So this is just gonna stagger things out even longer here. So should be some nice progress here for Falcons.
Yeah, getting high also means that now Stalker can set up on the high ground, who can cross over to play the high ground, and will require someone from ENCE to go up and address that. It means that ENCE might have to risk splitting themselves to some degree, or hope that Kepta can just win the 1v1. You see what Proper's doing up here. Playing on 2 fronts now are the Falcons. One on the cart, one on the bridge. The Kai has to duck back into the bubble. Smurf was waiting for him, absolutely flattened. Primal Rage going to work now on ENCE, and they've realized that grouping up was to their detriment now against this Winston ultimate. Ghost just couldn't get good coverage with an Immortality field at all.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what they want, right? They get into that close quarter scenario. Damage down from the Winston, also the Genji, and then Stalker comes on through with the Echo, finishing players off. As so look at this. So ENCE actually will kind of make a change of their own. So we'll see a little bit of a Maga v Maga matchup here. As Stalker went over to the Hanzo quickly, but now going to go over to the Venture.
Sigma instead for Vistola. Stalker now, of course, Venture. They're very effective at wrapping through this left side room here. Always a nuisance in the back line, and always very threatening to a comp that doesn't want to be all-in against. Cardiac overdrive for Falcons, but it actually provokes ENCE to come forward instead. Kinetic Grasp for Vistola means he's extremely tanky right now, and Falcons are happy to wait that cooldown out, even as Stalker wants to feign some potential aggression.
Just a lot of damage being taken by Falcons here as they're trying to push up here through this choke, but they're going to get both support ultimates off of this. It's going to be Rush here early on. It's going to be answered by Kai with the Deadeye.
Stalker now heading on in. Deadeye being used as Sound Barrier now for ENCE, but it's enough time for them to drag Smurf down. The heal pressure has been immense for ENCE, and that's been really the result of the amount of damage Kai can get done out from behind Vistola's shield and the Air Matrix of Ghost.
I mean, I feel like this is good, though, for ENCE in the sense that I feel like when they have gotten Falcons to at least play the Maka on this map, right? Map number 1, obviously, Falcons end up winning with a competition that looks very similar to this, but here, at least on Numbani, they've actually done pretty well when the Maga's been out.
Proper paves the way here. That deep flank allows him to create a little bit of space. Falcons move in behind it. Vistola already has that Gravitic Flux, so he might let this one go pretty early. He can guarantee good coverage at the moment, but Falcons eventually are going to start dispersing. They're going to look to flank. Stalker and Proper going to try and take their own fights. Vistola might be looking to respond to Smurf's aggression, though, with that ultimate immediately.
They're looking for the Blade in the Flux. So with the Blade on the other side, no Sound Barrier, you're looking to get that with the Flux, and it doesn't even matter at this point, right? As you take out Proper, the Pulse Bomb, the Flux can be thrown on in there to get rid of Smurf. So feel pretty good about another fight win here. If you're ENCE, you're going to have a time bank advantage.
Wasn't even a stick there. That was just on the wall. Proper gets a little bit too close to it. You've got both your support ultimates available now. Vistola has to give a bit of ground. He knows that the Cardiac Overdrive's in play, but he doesn't have the speed to get away. So instead, stands his ground. Kinetic Grasp and gives Kai the space to get that shot on Proper. That's big, and Falcons have to reset.
Yeah, but Falcons is going to come back with all 5 ultimates to use. Just can they get into an advantageous position, taking so much damage coming out of the spawn, you know, with the poke of the Sigma in the Cassian range, and they've not been able to close the gap at all.
Feels like Falcons are starting to run out of ideas. This Malga Venture setup not working. Stalker doesn't even bother with the ultimate, which is now over to the Hanzo.
Yeah, it's just a really odd place for the... Oh, that's a nice creation there. It's a really odd spot for the Venture to try and fight, right? There's not a lot of open area to kind of get a flank on.
Great looks here from ENCE over the last couple of minutes. Falcons are down to 1 minute and 42 in the round. They have Kitsune Rush build up once more, and yes, cage fight is there for Smurf.
Look at how far pushed up they are, where they have to kind of like wrap all the way around here for Falcons. Is Yoder gets quite low, and with this high ground control, is looks like actually a full wrap here from ENCE. It's very difficult to get value out of the rush.
Oh, that's big! Kai, massive pick off. Stalker is down now that Hanzo element for Falcons is missing, and they're on the wrong side of the map. They're trying to disengage now. Maybe the Consumer Rush can help them turn this fight around, but it's a little risky. Cage fight here, and down we dive with the blade. Everybody caught inside that. Pistola was held in, but Master Soundberry's not going to help them. Rage in the cage for Proper. A brace of 4, and Kevster soon to follow. Falcons break through, and that is a bona fide 5K for Proper.
So we get another fight here, though. 50 seconds, a lot of time still on the clock, but ENCE will get another opportunity out of the spawn. Whole spawn from Kevster. It was huge the last time, but they lose both supports.
It might be too late. Falcons already found the opening to jump in. Stalker does fall, but Falcons still have a lot to work with. Plenty of gas in the tank. Recall there came out of Kevster. Reinforcements a little bit slow. It's going to be a Suzu deployed there by Ghost to try and keep Kevster in the fight. That's enough time for Master to return. What a boot! Straight off the bat. He's able to find elimination on Proper. Smurf now brings him down, but Falcons are starting to run out of numbers, and that would have been enough. And they don't touch the card. Falcons squeeze it in there. Get themselves up to 1 minute in time bank.
Yeah, it looks like Vistola got knocked back a little bit there, just moving just out of range, touching the payload, which...
That could have been a hold there. That kill for Master was massive.
Yeah, I mean, they would have had to kind of like get another round of players off of respawn, right? You had just lost your...
They had the Malka come back in with the cardiac overdrive, though.
Yeah, which is huge, right?
Spawn advantage?
Keep the Mog up for a very long time. I mean, Bonnie has a crazy spawn advantage, right? Considering when you go to second point, there is no second point spawn, right? It's all the way out where that third point is, so...
That's right.
Falcons on offense. Just a minute on the clock, an extra minute added here for some time added for ENCE.
I mean, ENCE, let's not forget, without that back cap, their odds of finishing the map were far from guaranteed. They were in the middle of their second consecutive losing fight when Kevster saw the opportunity to jump on that cart and send it home. That's why 2 minutes separates these two squads in time bank.
Do you think Falcons goes with this? When we've seen them play the Venture, it's always been in kind of combination with the Maga thus far, so
I doubt it. Hang on.
This is all outside high ground, right? So,
oh man, this is so all in.
You're trying to put a lot of pressure on that left side high ground.
There's no way they're going to play the Winston with this setup in hindsight here, but yeah, walk up the left, right? Demand attention. Proper first, deflect, create some space. Smurf moves in behind it, and he does it awfully quickly. Kai under pressure, has to back away, but great peel from Master. Just brilliant from the Finn. No, it's going to be even up. Ghost does fall, but you've lost your Kiriko. It's just Chio to keep Falcon standing, and that is just not enough throughput here. Stalker's able to win that fight, but eventually ENCE turn on him. 22 seconds left to play. Falcons a long way from the objective.
Yeah, because for Falcons, you know the call probably there is that they've split off Kai's in a really difficult position. So Masa makes a hell of a play getting into a nice spot to be able to keep Kai alive.
Your ability to sort of stall overtime here, not great. You don't have a trace of just to sneak in there and recall away, so you've got to commit again. Fortunately, ENCE want to play on the point too. Probably gets caught out a little bit too far ahead of the rest of Falcons. Cardiac overdrive, and there's the shoulder charge in from Smurf, but Fielder is so low, so vulnerable, and Ghost is able to finish the job. This one is a matter of course now, as ENCE tie this one up, put a bow on it, and send a next day delivery. 3 minutes and 6 seconds to get one tick, and a sigh of relief for the European squad.
This is one that they are in complete control of, right? So just have to get one tick. 3 minutes on the clock. Obviously, their map selection, it is definitely paid off.
Gonna feel pretty good to have at worst a draw here. And this is also a function of, loser picking map and map type. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but I would remind you that Falcons have the option to choose their preferred battleground for map number 4. And one with them, which I'm sure will be designed to target and punish ENCE's composition pool. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Potential draw on the dot. So, see with ENCE here on offense, gonna continue to play this Sigma-based competition with Falcons on defense. They're gonna go back to this Maga with that Hanzo in place. This is what we saw from them the last time. ENCE actually just pushed Smurf into a position where Fielder really couldn't get any line of sight, any feeling on him. And then they just took out Smurf, kind of rotated their way back towards that point, took it rather quickly. So we'll see if they try and do that same thing again, moving up that left side high ground.
Fielder obviously going to be looking for those off angles for biotic grenades, but getting to play the Ana here in a more static context on point A. I don't think he'll be able to do that for the whole map. But again, against this slower Sigma composition, you don't have to worry too much about getting dove. Tracer will always be a threat though. Behind the Sigma, ENCE have a different way of trying to create some space in there. They don't have the Genji, but they do have the kinetic grasp to let them move up.
This is a little bit of scouting here by Kevster, getting an idea of where everybody's at as he goes around on a little bit of a flank. As Smurf dodges the accretion, pushes on in, cardiac overdrive already, and there goes the tank.
It's a great immortality field, another absolute banger from Ghost. Smurf there looked like he was in a position to actually isolate Pistola, but this is dangerous. The biotic grenade was played off so beautifully. That hit Master. None of that residual healing over time for the Lucio made him an easy mark. And now ENCE are in a little trouble, but a great accretion connects there for Pistola. Almost one tick, that's all that ENCE need. And he gets so close. They're going to be reset though. His Falcons can set up once more.
I feel like Stalker hasn't missed on the Hanzo in these clutch scenarios, right? Whenever they lose a player or two, it always feels like the next thing in the feed is Stalker 2K on the Hanzo, as we will get another go here. It's already about, like half the time off the clock here for ENCE. So, although you did have a lot of time to start, I mean,
there's no way.
Well, you got two more goes to it, right? This is maybe another.
Kai here with an accretion, I think. Well, no, some sort of stunt mechanic, maybe the sleep actually from Fielder. Immortality field down for Ghost, ENCE missing a player. They probably should reset. Here comes the Dragon. Ghost doesn't have the immo. He gets caught straight into the jaws. And with Kai, big remove by Fielder's bio-nade here. ENCE have to scrap it out. You're right, they have one more good fight left.
Well, it gets scary, right? You're now kind of snowballing everything built around these 5 ultimates here for ENCE. As Kevster gets quite low. Doesn't actually make it back for that health pack with the dodge right there. So you do have like 5 ultimates. Do you decide to go all in on one fight? Do you decide to maybe split these up, give yourself like 2 opportunities?
Here's the Dragon Blade now for Proper. Brings Master down, even the Amplification Matrix rather in play. It won't stop this guy. Another 3, but stunned in midair.
That defeat as well from Master.
Pistola's won. He's won. And he's sent over the map by Chio. 35 seconds left to play.
All right, so Deadeye here, if they get aggressive, right? You can use that Deadeye, maybe kind of get 1 is kind of what you're looking at there. Smurf with a cage fight. You could see like a cage fight combination with like a biotic grenade, right? You get a few players locked in there. So this is all coming apart here for ENCE.
Up they go once more. Gravitic Flux here might be part of the solution for ENCE. Accretion hits Smurf, but here comes Proper dashing in. Would love another big fight. Featuring in the kill feed. They're going to catch him with a cage fight. Immortality field though doesn't affect the people caught in the cage. And that's Pistola going down. Well, we spoke into existence, folks. Falcons have achieved the draw on Nobody.
So that is crushing there for ENCE. I mean, obviously to get it to that scenario, they needed a pretty epic backup. But on another map selection, that time where it looked like things were giving them, a little bit of momentum, right? Getting that back cap, having 3 minutes on the clock to a minute on the other side. Don't get a win there, so I guess you get another map selection.
In the case of the draw, the team who chose the map gets to actually choose again. So we will see ENCE with their 3rd map pick in this series, which is technically impossible unless you have a draw. So they've got to be feeling good about that one. But what is in the tank? How
do
many
you
more
feel
maps
good about it? Because how many more maps do you have?
No, I mean, you don't. But yet you still have the option to find a lifeline in the series.
But the 2 maps you would have selected, you figure, would have been your 2 strongest options, right? I don't think anybody, unless you're going into like the best of 7, is thinking, okay, what is our 3rd, like kind of go-to?
Yeah.
So this will be quite interesting.
Let's have a look back over the map that was here. Numbani featured a pretty ridiculous or egregious, depending on your standpoint, back cap there from Kevster. Proper's Blade, sharp as always, Matt. But eventually, Falcons were able to dull them down on that point A in overtime. Pretty ridiculous way for the game to end, and the time bank for ENCE was 3 minutes for that last attack.
Yeah, and ENCE on defense, right? They pushed up. They were holding that high ground for a very long time towards the end of the map, as I see some more clips Well, Proper ending up getting some sick blades there on the Genji. It's wild, like you mentioned, that you look at this lineup, they finished second. Crimzo kind of joking that they almost didn't make it. Like, it's kind of wild to even imagine a world in which that happened. Right?
If anything, that just speaks positively, I think, of the region. APAC is pretty sick. You are seeing so many stars and even new rising stars competing in that region quite frequently. We can definitely say the same, of course, for EMEA. With ENCE, of course, showing us what Ghost can do, and I think he's been more than just serviceable in that Baptiste role here. A lot of pressure being put on him again to sort of step up for this team. They're not the top seed from their region. They're going up against a very strong APAC team. They got themselves a draw. They're still looking for that elusive first map win in this series. They will get to pick again at the very least.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the maps we thought they would pick would be like a Midtown. Would you think about playing like Shambali? That would be a little bit interesting, right? Some Sigma options,
it's good for rush comps, genuinely.
The one thing though, like Falcons has made really nice use of Hanzo throughout this series, right? A map like a Shambali gives a really nice sightline.
How do you feel about Hanzo after the sort of the wider changes to the game?
I mean, I think he plays like a different.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the
now.
insta-kill potential anymore, really.
Right, but just the amount of damage that he puts out is still quite burst. Like, it's not at the level of burst it was, right? Before he'd turn a corner and he would just, he would storm out and just kill an entire team. Now it is a little bit more, spread out, but still large amounts of damage dealt at one time, where definitely puts a lot of pressure and resource pressure on the opposing team.
Yeah, we use that term a little nebulously, I think, but heal pressure is so important, especially when you've got teams that are playing Lucio Kiriko compositions, right? It's got like acceptable throughput. Kiriko really needs to spend time though getting people topped up. Whereas like a Baptiste comp gives you a bit of a reset button with the regenerative burst and immortality field to buy you a little bit of time to get people up to health. And we see like Ana's throughput in general has been brought back in line, I think, with the rest of the roster of support. So heal pressure really matters. Putting your opponent's supports in a position where they must focus purely on the defensive side of the game can give you a huge edge.
I think it's also when they have Sigma on the other side, right? Forcing kinetic grasp, the shield, putting that on cooldown, right? That gets regenerative burst out faster. It gets immortality field out faster, right? It puts a lot of just overall pressure on the opposing team, where when you don't have that hunt in the mix and you can just kind of like trade damage openly, in the front line, it's a little bit easier.
So we're waiting for our fourth map in the series to be selected here by ENCE. We have a moment to head over to the desk and have them check in how the series has been so far. So I should assume.
Thank you so much, friends. Yeah, Jake, let's walk through what we saw so far. I mean, up until Nobani, it didn't really look like ENCE were able to push Falcons out of their comfort zone or anywhere to any limit possible. Generally, word on the street has been like, Falcons have some weaknesses here and there. Have you seen any of that in their compositions or in the way they approach a game?
I mean, they found purchase on Nambani, right? Securing a draw is big. I am a little worried for them in the way that they won with this like big C9 from Kepster. That's great, but that's not really the way you want to win as a team in this position. And even that win is only winning you a fight leading to a draw on the map. So yeah, it's not looking good for ENCE, frankly. And they have some tough map picks ahead. Even if they can win a map here, they still have a long road ahead to actually win the series. But I think the biggest thing is Falcons have shown us something very new, which is this double flex DPS style run with the Mauga. Really relying on the cardiac overdrive, Mauga charging into your backline, pressuring your supports and your DPS. At the same time, Genji's coming in with the cardiac overdrive. Maybe it's a Venture, maybe it's an Echo diving in, sometimes a Hanzo sniping from afar. But I think that composition is something really new for people at home, but I think has a lot of potential, especially with Venture coming into the professional hero pool. It's very, very unique hero and how consistently it can get on top of the backline, get in with Mauga, and actually use that lifesteal burst. Unlike Tracer, you're not so in and out, so flighty. You can kind of stand with the Mauga and really, really use the skills.
Walk me through through this here on Nambani though, because quite frankly, I mean, we saw the Sigma composition on the other side, right? So like playing that Winston's, like the natural counter, let's say. Why did they switch to Mauga on point 3? Do you think that kind of broke their neck there? Could they have just ended it otherwise?
I mean, I wonder. I think maybe they felt, okay, point 3, there's not very much verticality. I think it's understandable not to really preference the Winston there, but typically I think the Winston's so strong against Sigma, right? not in a one-on-one head-to-head fight, but Winston's so effective at dropping that bubble, cutting off the heal resources coming to Sigma, and then, Sigma could be caught all alone. But Smurf felt, the Mauga, just with that lack of verticality, he could cross the distance. I don't think they were ready with that aggressive forward hold that ENCE brought. I think that was actually crucial to having a decent defense there on third point, running the clock down, was that they were able to hold almost into Falcon's spawn, making them fight in this super open, exposed high ground area where that's like a worst case scenario for Mauga. He doesn't want to be crossing large open spaces. He wants to be swinging a corner, jumping on your back line. You don't really have any time to react or play around it. So I think it was really intelligent from ENCE, that choice to aggressively forward hold on the body. Not something I've seen in a long time, but these are veteran players and they're bringing back an old strategy that is still super effective in the right hands. Falcons, though, I don't think they're really worried, right? The fact that they're able to lock it in and secure a draw, they have confidence that this Mauga comp can beat Sigma. And honestly, I would have thought, okay, Sigma's a pretty good answer to Mauga. You don't really lifesteal anything at all when you're shooting Sigma shield, when you're, shooting into the kinetic grasp. Your lifesteal abilities aren't effective against those skills. But nonetheless, they just ignore that Sigma, go past him, get to the back line, and it's hard to argue with something that puts proper on Genji. I mean, that guy is so insanely good at the Genji. Really shows his incredible potential. They're probably one of the best teams in the world for double flex DPS. And I think maybe they feel that their edge against Crazy Raccoons with someone like Lip on hit scan is to not play hit scan and to just put so much pressure on him, force him off his comfort zone.
It was funny as we were watching that game, right? We see that prep on the Genji and like, technically Tracer will be a better fit here in that composition, but then also it's proper. If he can shoehorn the Genji in, he will make it work regardless. So looking at the next map here, what do you want to see from ENCE?
I mean, at this point, right, you've exhausted, honestly, your valuable map picks. Now we're going to either Flashpoint or push. And to be honest, I'm not sure if there's anything that's really going to generate much advancement. Let's see what they went with. Okay, it is going to be Saravasa. So going to Flashpoint, I mean, at this point, right, you're going to have to play Flashpoint and push. You've gotten the widest ranging map picks already out of the way with Escort and Hybrid. Saravasa, I'm honestly really worried for ENCE. There's a reason they didn't go to Flashpoint earlier in the series, because this is where something like that super aggressive Genji comp could be incredibly effective. It's very hard to hold Genji off and keep him at long range on any Flashpoint pick.
Yeah, I don't think Falcons are going to be too unhappy about that map pick. Let's see if ENCE can get that elusive victory on the board, or if Falcons is going to take this one home. For all the action, we're sending it over back to Mr. X and Uber.
Okay, Saravasa, the map choice here. And I think I shared the skepticism of our desk about how this suits ENCE.
Yeah, I mean, what Jake was talking about, and I completely agree, it's like what we were discussing a little bit before. Like, you've kind of already exhausted all your best options, or you would sort of think options, right, in terms of map selection. So now going into Saravasa, this is where you can see a comp with a Genji start to really get rolling and snowball a game.
Now, we've seen it be pretty critical, often played, I think, in the shell of those Orisa-based comps, right? Very effective rush style. Sojourn was often mixed in with that. I'm curious to see if we see something that resembles that kind of composition a little bit more closely here. Obviously, mobility is a key factor. It's very important. But so much hinged on how long is it going to take for your Sojourn to find a pick? Can you get your Genji safely into a spot to capitalize off so many of those resets? And how much heal pressure can you put on your opponents? Again, another sort of subject we surfaced sort of coming out of that last break, which is going to be important if your opponent's playing that Lucio Kiriko, the highly mobile but lower throughput setup.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, at least not seen on stage, any type of substitution potentially here for Falcons. So they'll keep running on with Smurf infielder in the game. It's wild that you have a team that you would even think about taking out a Smurf or a fielder, but the lineup is so good. The overall roster is that you can do things in that regard. So I like the Hanzo pick here. The Hanzo has definitely worked out with that Genji.
In we go. ENCE's last chance to stay alive in this series, and it's a map that might be somewhat uncomfortable for them here. They want to bring that Sigma composition in. Fair play. It means they get to leverage that Baptiste. Falcons with the Mauga honor.
When I look at this setup, for both of these teams, I think the real deciding factor for ENCE, and the thing that can help kind of turn the tide for them, is Kevster's Tracer. When they were winning fights in this type of head-to-head matchup, it was really his Tracer that was giving Falcons problems. When they don't have to really worry or respect that Tracer in the backline, that allows Falcons to just take control of the game.
Coming here. Won't be allowed to just inhabit his high ground for free, but he's happy to pay for it.
So dangerous.
Deflect there. Can he get him out of dodge? No, a little overextended there. Eventually head to turn in his direction. But Stalker with Storm Arrow is able to find a headshot on a Tracer, of all things. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and the pressure Falcons apply gives them the point to start. They've lost Smurf, though.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to be able to kind of like hold serve on the point, right? Without your Maga in the mix. They still have Vestola coming out with that Sigma, so you will get the point flipped rather quickly. Falcons probably, it's a little bit of a shame you're not able to hold that there, right? Because Stalker on that high ground setup with point control and the Hanzo could have been really difficult to break that.
Pressure on Smurf, the Doomfist, tough ask, but is able to bring it in and trade out with the Sigma. Fielder does well, brings down Ghost as soon as that Immortality field is missing. Falcon should be able to move back in, re-establish some presence, but Kevster might have other plans. Kai got pressured pretty heavily, he's able to heal up though. Fielder feeling the burn now from Kevster. Geo though is indomitable, what a Sentinel! Kevster and Master brought down one after another.
Yeah, even though you did lose Smurf rather quickly there, it was still a 1-for-2 trade, right? You still get 2 kills off of the back of the aggression off the Doomfist, so still have Smurf playing that Doomfist yet again. He saw for like a brief second, maybe in spawn, I know in the previous map, and then a swap as both teams just kind of swapping back and forth throughout all the tanks. But now at least we see it out the spawn door here on Surabas.
Nano boost here for Fielder. Stalker's Dragon Strike may be relevant if ENCE get baited out onto the point and can't really break away.
Do you nano the Genji here? Do you nano the Doom?
He can feel Blade off the Nano, I think. Transition into it. Ant Matrix comes in, but Smurf is only subject to one shot before he plows straight through it. He's low though. Nano boost keeps him durable enough, but he didn't find anything on that foray into the enemy backline. So Falcons will get close. Within striking distance of that first flashpoint, and ENCE wrench it back under their control.
Yeah, it's a team kill there for ENCE off the back of Moss's Sound Barrier. Sound Barrier and Ant Matrix there.
Carry switch.
You're gonna have the Blade here available here for Falcons. So Blade potentially in place to close this point out, right? A point flip would result in Falcons taking this first flashpoint.
Falcons had to be quick about this, but they have the Sound Barrier advantage. Keep an eye on that. Dragon Strike for Stolen should be able to sidestep this, but will be heads into a corner, and that's what he wanted to do with Sigma. Surround him, bring him down with sheer weight of numbers. And we'll have a flip of the flashpoint back into Falcons' favor. Now to the backline, Sands, Blade, proper still, sharp as you like. The Shuriken's going to work. Ghost will be removed, and Kai has no support, no space to work in. Still hits the shots though. Kovacs Kai rears his head once more, but it's going to take more than that. Gets the boot as soon as he touches down, and Kai's too low to intervene. That'll be a first flashpoint. And a posthumous kill there for Kai.
Yeah, I guess the benefit for ENCE there, right? Obviously, you end up losing that flashpoint. They do end up using just about everything there, does Falcons, to be able to flip the point back in their favor. It allows ENCE to come back into this next fight. You're halfway towards that Ant Matrix, but you got Pulse Bomb, Deadeye, and a Gravitic Flux, where you didn't kind of like waste those. Kind of throw that good money after bad there towards the end of that point.
Costello wants to move up here, a little chunked down, so it's going to take a moment. Kevster wants that off angle early, but probably takes a Hanzo shot from somewhere. The Deadeye for Kai, that's a decent way to make some space. You combine it with a Flux, that's a lot of ultimates just to move up here. Let's hope it doesn't bite them in the rear. Smurf touches down in enemy territory and quickly is dispatched.
Yeah, Meteor Strike and then tried to like land on top there and then kind of slide down, give himself a little bit of extra cover, but no position that he's able to keep himself up in as things will still change here as the Falcons, it'll be Smurf now on the Winston. So, just kind of run the gamut of tanks.
You gotta pressure the Cassidy, ignore the Sigma. That's the plan.
Solo low.
Getting a lot of attention now that he's low, but Smurf took a ton of damage up there. That's the Ant Matrix, making it hard for Winston to do his thing. Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect though, and probably got a chance to be a part of this fight. So that Ant Matrix is a problem. Look at the Baptiste involvement in those kills. Falcons couldn't find a way around it.
No, they just kind of dive on into it face first. So end up losing the fight there as they try. Smurf takes
all else fails. Venture Malga.
Yeah, Smurf takes so much damage on the way in. They use a Kitsune Rush. Is still not able to keep anybody up. This Masa this time keeping that sound barrier for that Blade, where some of these ultimates that ENCE had at the beginning of this point led them to have a chance to take it here.
Here comes Proper pushing up. Blade at the ready. You know he's ready to make use of it. Brief stuns there. Those still having to get involved in the fight is going to be behind the Cassidy. sound barrier now. He's going to wait it out. Pressuring Kai down. Half HP for the Cassidy, and here comes the rest. The backup is good. Shoulder charge from Smurf to clean up the kill, and now the Immortality Field is out of the picture. Kenzie getting involved, but that's not what you want to see. Proper over the edge. It's Smurf now to try and hold on, but Stalker coming in from the back line. Oh, it's a mutual knockdown with the pulse bomb, but I don't know if Stalker has much to do here. Pistola's too tanky.
Yeah, but Stalker can end up building some of the shields, right? Gets a little bit more help, gets the Lucio back in the mix, so they're going to be okay here for just that brief moment of time. Well, Pistola can't exactly push up into this just yet.
And the Lucio off respawn is so big. Stalker gets the setup now. Again, this invulnerability window is huge for Stall. Stalker emerges. Off-angle Deadeye here as Kai steps up. Inexorable it feels, but he's going to get slammed. In comes the Maga with the stop, but Proper gets caught out by Masa on the periphery, finding a key kill on the Genji. It's back and forth, but Fielder is missing now. It's up to Chia to do most of the healing. It looks like ENCE have this point locked up. And so it comes to pass.
Yeah, they walk on in. Fielder was incredibly low. Couldn't exactly play aggressively on the point with the Kuriku, and that allows him to just kind of burn down Smurf as that'll be ENCE tying it up here on Surabasa.
Oh, you want to hear this?
One apiece now. Stalker with that ultimate generator. The Kitsune rush just around the corner for Fielder. They can also take an advantageous position here. Playing through the chokes. In comes the Malga. Popper takes a licking damage-wise, and here comes that rush. Deployed straight away. Stalker gonna be popping on him as well, but needs to work around that shield. This is one way to do it. Drill dash actually used here early, so no escape. Stalker's still gonna be in the mix. Nicely done, and ENCE get caught in that choke.
The dive really strong there from Falcons, getting Proper and Stalker into the back line. So Falcons will take this point first off the back of the Kitsune rush. Really nice. I think they're actually going to call ENCE out of the way there. As,
I saw the Moira switch for a second.
Yeah, no, but not going to see Ghost move off of that piece. He's going to stay on that. The Moira swap probably just get a little bit further up.
Here we go. Smurf closes the gap. Shoulder charge gets in there, but he backs away. Sees the flux though. Stalker's able to avoid it by being subterranean at that juncture. Catches Smurf. He gets away though. Malga unperturbed by the flux. Kept her a little low here, but Stalker gets caught. That accretion. Perfect start from Pistola. Smurf has to try and get involved now. Cage fight thrown down. 3 players caught inside of it. This could be absolutely nasty. Will it blend? No, not for now anyway. Oh, Kempsey gets caught by another pulse bomb, and here comes Proper. Food processor finally does its job.
And it feels like that was like an opportunity for ENCE to flip this one, in the sense that you already had Stalker down, the cage fight comes down, and it's sound barrier there for Falcons, and you're like kind of living on through it there for ENCE. You don't even get to use your barrier to kind of combat that blade on the other side. So now it'll be difficult. It'll be Kempster gets a touch.
Recall for Kemp. He's able to keep the round alive at the very least. Enough time for Pistola and Co to come in. Accretion, no connection there. Maybe on Proper, in fact. But he isn't followed up on. Kai's forced away. Not a great angle to make use of the Deadeye. Kieran behind the pillar. Will the Falcons hide? Deflect expires though, and Proper gets caught out in the open. Fielder a little bit too low there, despite the Kitsune rush being deployed. Falcons throw a couple of ultimates in there and don't have the ability to close the round and stay alive on this flashpoint.
And they hold on to their Amp Matrix here. So pretty strong for ENCE being able to kind of really just kind of play around Kai. The Deadeye there ends up taking out Proper. I think he just kind of mistimes it in terms of thinking it's going to wear out, has the deflect, not able to get around line of sight on the pillar they were kind of playing around at the moment. Now Falcons comes back. We're going to be walking right into this Amp Matrix and that Forbidding Flux.
Now, like you mentioned, Falcons, maybe a bit of a junk fight here, but you don't really have to buffer for too many of those.
Flashpoint, they go so fast. There's really not, a ton of junk throwaway fights.
And Stalker has to navigate the Sigma shield to find value with that ultimate. They're wrapping around again. Falcons trying to outmaneuver. Here's the sound barrier. Immortality field used awful early in this fight, and Stalker creates a little bit of space. That ultimate knocks ENCE away, forces them back. Now it's going to be Pistola surrounded, but no one's really looking to do damage to him until now. And that's the finish. Smurf gets the job done. This will be another flashpoint for Falcons. looking to take the series away here.
Yeah, and Stalker actually trying to kill Vistola there, but kind of the blow-through damage actually takes out Kepster as he's coming around the backside there by the staircase. If they use that sounder, they get so aggressive behind the Venture that they get nothing with that Ant Matrix. They just get pushed up so far away and not able to make any use of it.
It's a 2-1 score here on Survivasa as we head over to us a fourth flashpoint. Gravitic Flux in hand for Vistola, very critical against this Falcon squad.
This first fight on this point could really decide this. It's a cage fight. It's really early on.
They got Kai. Immortality Field has to be used, but how does Kai stay alive? It's a sound barrier from Master instantly. Proper's in the Flux, gets dropped down low, but who's looking at him? Turns out Vistola has eyes for the Genji. Proper stays alive, but the Kiriko healing's not there at all. He is so low. He got topped up just to 100 here, and eventually he drags the Sigma down. There was no support for Vistola. The fight's still happening on the high ground. Vistola thought he could drop down, find the Genji pick. It doesn't work out that way at all. And that's devastating for ENCE.
It is so difficult to like the Tracer, the Venture with the Genji and the Rico. They're so slippery in terms of being able to try and track them down, right? So, right there. I mean, that is a huge pick. As Kai takes out Chio. Chio just playing a little bit close to that corner. The double ding there from Kai ends up taking him out. Maybe he can make something out of this. It would be huge.
Yeah, Falcons looking to play off the point for the most part. They committing a Kitsune rush here. Will this make up for the lack of Lucio? It might just. Proper now pressuring Kai down from behind. The Shurikens come in. No chance for the Cassidy to make use of Deadeye whatsoever. And then lost the Genji. Falcons got Chio picked off at the start of the fight. And they showed barely a break in stride.
Yeah, when the Kitsune rush comes down, right, you use the Deadeye to try and deter the players from kind of moving on through that rush. Kind of force them into different areas of the map, and Falcons does not care. Cardiac Overdrive, they push right up. It does not matter to them. They take out on time really fast. This will be a blade from Proper. A little back half here from Kepster.
It doesn't matter what Kepster's doing. He's trying to back cap here, and that's all well and good, but eventually Falcons will return.
Yeah.
So cheeky though. He might have kept ENCE in the game. It's a long walk back for ENCE though. I want to make that clear. Their odds of getting a proper 5-on-5 fight aren't great. It's going to have to be Kepster stalling now out in the dying moments.
Triggers ENCE.
They got him. They picked him off now to 5v4. That's what I mean. You can't get a full fight and a no touch. Look, it was a big ask anyway. The Falcons eventually come up with the answer. To be fair, it was to a question they didn't pose. 3 maps consecutively chosen by ENCE, and eventually Falcons figure it out. No doubt the better team here. Great adaptability, a deep bench has allowed them here to dominate EMEA's #2 seed.
And look, you get a draw on one of these maps. Realistically, this probably should have been a 3-0. I mean, it was a 3-0, right, in the sense, but like it should have been over on Numbani. It's a really nice back cap there from Kepster that allows them to even have the position to draw that map, where it really felt like Falcons was in complete control throughout the series. It never really felt like it was in doubt.
And our APAC teams have landed, and the grim reality of exactly what kind of fury they're bringing with them now starts to set in. The more things change, the more they stay the same. These guys are still incredible at the game, and they are still a dominant region.
Yeah, it kind of sends, obviously ENCE now to the loser bracket, potentially to the drawing board a little bit, right?
Sure.
I think if you're, another team that goes down, I believe actually SSG beats NRG in that series. So just thinking about the bracket, I believe that is a matchup that we would see, like ENCE versus NRG.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to kind of look through some of these, matches real quick, in the back and a little bit of a break. And maybe that's some stuff that you can replicate. Maybe
How long do you have, really? You've got to play to your own strengths at some point here, right? Especially with how the map pick works.
Yeah, I mean, you do, right? But no, you thought you had strength going up against Falcons. I think obviously, NRG and Falcons, there's a gap there, right? But you've proven that you can be beat. Maybe it's like looking at something. Maybe there's a different order of maps you would like to go to potentially.
Well, we've been up here for quite a while. Quite the match it was. We're going to head down to the stage now, and Danny is taking the chance to take Stalker aside.
All right, thank you so much, Mitch. Yes, I am here for the post-match interview. We got Stalker from Team Falcons for a quick chat. Great stuff, great stuff. The most, I think, important thing that I want to ask you is we saw something very exciting. We saw Venture being played for the first time in Dallas, and you were amazing. I just want to ask, how's Venture for you, and did you have any trouble sort of picking that hero up? 자, 일단 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 벤처에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶어요. 아무래도 이제 달라스에서 처음으로 보는 벤처 캐릭터 히로 영웅이기 때문에 좀 벤처에 대한 생각은 어떠신지, 또 그리고 벤처를 어떻게 보면 이제 사용하면서 좀 이렇게 힘든 점이나 뭐 이런 건 없으셨는지.
조금 처음에 연습할 때는 이게 처음 하는 캐릭터다 보니까 되게 어색함이 많았는데 경쟁전은 엄청 많이 하다 보니까 자연스럽게 좀 팁 같은 게 터득이 된 것 같습니다.
Definitely because it was a new hero. Of course, there were a little bit of difficulties, but because I was able to play more comps and do a lot more practice, I think I learned my own tips and tricks on how to play Venture. Let me follow up on that. You said you learned your own tips. Give us one tip. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here, a lot of fans wanna sort of learn more about Venture anyway. So tips. 자, 방금 개인만의 팁들이 좀 있다. 한 가지만, 제일 쉬운 거. Easy tip.
쉬프트를 쓴 상태에서 우클 쓰는 게 상당히 좋습니다.
Yeah. It's really good to use the right click when you're in the shift form. So that's a tip from Stalker. All right. One final question. Your next match moving forward is going to be against Space Station Gaming. So it's going to be Space Station Gaming versus Team Falcons. What are your thoughts on Space Station Gaming? 자, 다음 경기 Space Station Gaming과의 경기가 될 텐데 그 팀에 대해서 좀 어떻게 생각하시는지?
오늘처럼 무난하게 이길 거라 생각하고 걱정조차 안 됩니다.
I feel like it's gonna be just like today, pretty an easy win for us, and I'm not really worried about Space Station Gaming. All right, that is it. Thank you, Stalker, so much. Everybody, give a round of applause. Let's send things back to Zoe and the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny. What a convincing victory we just got to witness from Falcons. They were the favorite coming into this, and they showed us why. We just previously to Suravas talked a little bit about what we did get to see from them. It is a new look, as you mentioned, Jake. We've seen that double flex DPS. It's a good look for them and something they relied on once more on Suravas. As soon as they ditched the Winston, went back onto that composition, everything went their way, Johnny.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about versatility, how often do we see a team rock such solid double flex damage players, right? Not a lot of teams can pull off these kinds of compositions, right? But Falcons, they came in with a perfect game plan here to really deal with what ENCE had coming out. They were playing with the Sigma, of course, and this was the story of the entire series. ENCE Esports, we talked about them going into this series. They love these Sigma compositions. This is what they do best, right? And I actually think we saw Vistola with some like real neat Sigma play at times, but it just doesn't hold up to what Falcons can pull out. Circuit Royale, like this is a map you need to win if you're ENCE Esports. And similarly like Numbani, that is another map you pretty much need to win to then have a chance to become the push and a flashpoint later on in this series. But Falcons, I mean, they go 3-0 on this map after drawing Numbani as well. One of the most egregious C9s I've ever seen. But again, like this just opened up a possibility of an ENCE win that they couldn't even capitalize on, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little bit of adding insult to injury there, that they're able to bring it back for a draw and then secure the series. I think Venture as a hero has really opened up an incredible world of possibility for Team Falcons, because historically, I feel Lip and Crazy Raccoons, that's been the duel over in Korea, Crazy Raccoons versus Falcons. I feel Lip's been getting the better of the hit scan duel, and it's been pretty decisively in his favor. And I think this comp is really Falcons' answer, Falcons' idea. If you can win with double flex DPS, I think Falcons are the best team in the world right now. I think they can take it to Crazy Raccoons if they can force a player like Lip off of the hit scan. Whether that's possible, it remains to be seen, but this makes me really excited to see that matchup. I think we're going to see a new dynamic that we have not seen between those two teams, who I think is fair to say are the best in the world.
So you
right
actually think that Crazy Raccoons will be caught off guard by it? Is that something they held back? Do you think they maybe busted it out in streams, or is this actually just... Is it just new for us, or will it be new for Crazy Raccoons?
It's not a matter of catching them off guard. It's not a matter of, sneaking the strat through and, you weren't ready for it. Oh no, you couldn't react in the moment. It's a matter of you think this is the best comp. That like you can know about the strategy, but it's the best. It will win no matter what you play. Like you don't have an answer because this is the final answer. And oftentimes with, new meta changes into the tournament, something like this Mauga coming out, I think we could see other teams with different takes on a similar style. I've seen in scrims, seen the Pharah being played in the role of the Genji. actually, after the Pharah rework, can be kind of similar heroes, right? Like a very decisive connection onto the enemy backline, deliver a ton of burst, a little bit more explosive than Genji, maybe a little bit more poke, but maybe a little bit less consistent, maybe more vulnerable to the hit scan. And so I think there's definitely going to be more variations on the style that we're going to see as the tournament progresses. And to be honest, I don't think anybody has the final certain answer. It's going to be who has the best read, who has the most confidence, and honestly, the comfort on the right hero that is going to be earning these wins and staying in the upper bracket and potentially winning the whole thing.
Indeed. Well, it remains exciting. That was a great first look at both of those teams. And now, of course, before we're moving on, we do have some honors to give out, and that is the Porsche Performance of the Match. And it has to go to one half of this double DPS, flex DPS duo. And that is, of course, Proper. He's done it again. He's just raking up those accolades.
Amazing performance by Proper. I mean, unlocking with this Genji, of course, and Stalker as well, being able to play so many different heroes, but Proper was so consistent. You saw throughout the series, and this is one of the best players in the world, right? And now, paired alongside Stalker, you can really have Proper play all kinds of different heroes. You're saying, playing a lot of hit scan, right? And that is a big boon for this team, whether you go to Circuit Real or many other maps, but Stalker playing alongside him as well, you open up that flexibility. Great performance by Proper.
I mean, Proper's performance on the Genji was absolutely monstrous. He's so insanely good on that hero. I mean,
only that Dragon Blade, theoretical.
We know him for his Tracer, we know him for his Sojourn. That's why he's played at big moments in the past in his career. But man, Genji, I think, is maybe the most terrifying hero in his kit if he gets that first kill, and so often he does with nothing, with no resource, with no setup. He just finds these ridiculous openers, dashing in from maximum range, just executing one of your supports of your damage players. There's nothing you can really do against that. Like, there's no playing around that. You just have to hope that the enemy Genji can't actually do that every time. But it starts happening over and over again, and you start to get seriously worried. So anyone going up against Team Falcons has to find an answer to the Proper Genji. And for me, with what we just saw, we might be seeing this all tournament long. I'm not sure that there is an answer per se. I think you might just be, struggling against the Proper Genji all tournament long.
You know what? If we get to see more Proper on Genji, I am mad about that. Why not? But yeah, Proper earning himself the Performance of the Match by Porsche. And now we are taking a look at our bracket to see where we currently stand. As we're moving on in the tournament, we do have a lot of matches to get through today. 6, in fact. We have everything on your screens right there that already happened. Of course, there was a match happening on the B stream, on our second stream, covered by Nectra and Jack, and we will be filling you in on everything that went down there as well. So far, though, if we're looking at those scores, no huge surprises there just yet. I think most people would have expected to see Energy Shock and ENCE here in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I think, SSG, I think they are the strongest team out of the European region right now. After what we just saw with ENCE, frankly, I don't think it's close. I think SSG is really the only team that's going to be able to really put up a fight in an international competition. And then, of course, NRG, they are the 3rd seed from North America, right? I think it's fair to say they are the weakest team from NA here. And so, it's pretty much an expected result. I am really excited to see that next match in the upper bracket, though. Can SSG actually take it to Falcons, who, I mean, with the performance Falcons put out and the meta they're showing, this could be a real test for SSG. I think that's going to be a clash of styles. It's going to be about who can enforce their will. And honestly, I'm a little worried for SSG. I think Ramantra really vulnerable to Malga with the lifesteal. You're really, especially that BAP that they really love to play on SSG, you're incredibly vulnerable to Malga running for you, landing on the back line, Genji dashing in, Venture being that reliable follow-up. I mean, there's so much to worry about.
Luckily, they don't have to play today, so they can prep. They can go back to the bot dungeon, take a look at how the opposition got it done. Let's actually take a look at how they progressed through the upper bracket here, Johnny. These are some highlights of their match against Energy Shock.
Yeah, and you're seeing Hadi and Infected both on Winston here, which is pretty telling that both of these teams are comfortable bringing out the composition if they want to, right? Hadi also Infected playing the Reinhardt and the Sigma, so we're seeing all kinds of compositions from these teams, which is a bit of a delight. With ENCE, it was pretty much we're gonna play the Sigma composition. Hadi coming out with the Reinhardt, though, I think that proves that in this tournament as well, they're comfortable bringing out that hero if needed, right? But pretty comfortable 3-0 from SSG. I agree with Jake. I think SSG, more so than ENCE, has the opportunity to really fight with some of these better Asia teams, right? Or Toronto Defiant, for example. But, this first match against NRG Shock, that really is just par for the course for SSG here.
I think that Lucio Curie is actually a great look for SSG, keeping the Lucio that they're so comfortable with, that they're playing around speed, around sound barrier. They're so dominant on that when they play Rush. But you bring in a Sigma, you bring in a Winston, right? And now you're dramatically changing the character of your comp, and it really showing that Hadi's been in the lab working on his flexibility and bringing actually an incredible amount of value to his team, that strategically they're consistently staying in the advantage. Historically, that wasn't their MO. Historically, they were, okay, we're going to lock it in on our comfort comp. We're just going to bring what we brought and hope for the best. But they weren't doing that in that last match, right? We get to see that they're showing a ton of flexibility, which is going to be critical going up against some of the strongest teams in the world here.
Yeah, and that earned them not just a dub, but also a break, because they get to rest until their game tomorrow in the upper bracket as we progress here through our first day. Though we do have more matches coming up. On the other side of this break, you will get to witness Crazy Raccoons taking on M80. Let's see who's going to come out on top of that after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.